Good morning, everyone. This is David Gutierrez. I'm the Education Relations Supervisor with Workforce Solutions. Thank you for joining us this morning on day 2 of our career exploration track for the Youth Career Conference. It's Tuesday, October 13th. Some of you welcome back to school. I hope you enjoyed your Columbus Day off. If not, then it's your second day and one day closer to Friday. It is my pleasure to kick off today's event with a welcome from our CEO, Mr. Francisco Amaraz. Mr. Amaraz, you've got the floor, sir.
Thank you, David. Well, good morning, everyone. On behalf of Workforce Solutions, I want to welcome everyone to the virtual 2020 Youth Career Conference. We are living really in extraordinary times, and students, teachers, and school districts have been able to adapt and have shown a great deal of resilience as we all work together to do our part to combat this COVID-19. This is the first year we've held a career conference online, and we've received over 2,500 registrations for this event, which is really incredible. And events like these take a lot of planning, a lot of teamwork, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Workforce Solutions staff that have helped organize this event. Our team lead, Mr. David Gutierrez, which you just heard right now, and our workforce outreach specialist, Ms. Yesenia Garcia, Ms. Irene Garcia, and Ms. Jasmine Hernandez. They've done a great job in organizing this event. I also want to thank Mr. Sergio Contreras. He's the president and CEO of the RGV Partnership for his support in engaging the business community. Workforce Solutions is committed to helping students making informed decisions about future careers, and we want to make sure you are prepared for those careers. Our workforce outreach specialists work with you and your teachers to help you better prepare for your career choice. They provide soft skills training, including job search, interview skills, financial literacy, and of course, information that allows you to explore career opportunities and help guide you to the career that is right for you. The workforce outreach specialists are enthusiastic about their work, and it shows by the relationships they have built with you and your teachers. Today's Youth Career Conference has 3 tracks: career exploration, soft skills, and parental engagement, each designed to provide you with information you will need as you work on planning your future. We also want to make sure to provide your parents with information on financial aid, career information and planning process, and stress management. So if your parents are not aware about this conference, please invite them to participate. Thank you for choosing to be here, and I hope you take with you a better understanding about the resources available that will help you find success in your careers. And remember, Workforce Solutions is always here to help you make decisions about your future careers. Best of luck and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amaraz. We appreciate that. So moving forward, today we've got on our career exploration, we've got healthcare and law enforcement. So we're excited to go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and bear with me. We're going to go ahead and get started with our first video interview. Bear with me. Our first employer that we're going to be speaking with is Deepu George, Associate Professor for UTRGV School of Medicine. Dr. George is an Associate Professor of Family and Community Medicine and the Director of Integrated Behavioral Health for UTRGV School of Medicine. After completing his Master's in Counseling, Psychology, and Family Therapy in India, he completed his doctoral work at University of Georgia and a pre-doctoral internship in Medical Family Therapy and Integrated Care at Duke Southern Regional AHEC in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Dr. George focuses on creating parity for mental health along with physical health and is a passionate about advancing the primary care behavioral health model in primary and specialty medical settings.
everyone. My name is Jasmine Hernandez, and I'm a Workforce Outreach Specialist with Workforce Solutions. Today with us, we have Dr. Deepu George, who will be giving us some information on his profession. Dr. George, can you please introduce yourself, your job title, and where you currently work?
Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, whenever you're listening to this. My name is Deepu George, and I'm an associate professor of family and community medicine. And my background is in training in clinical psychology and family therapy. And I specialize in working with behavioral and mental health concerns in medical settings. So that's what I do.
And where do you currently work right now?
I am currently with the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley School of Medicine, and I'm within the Department of Family and Community Medicine.
Awesome. How did you become interested in this occupation or field?
So it's the particular post that I have is not the most common route, but I was always interested in taking my skills as a mental health practitioner and making sure that it can reach more people. And the best way to do that is to do the work that we do in primary care, because everybody or most people have a doctor and they're going to go see their doctor for a variety of things. And when they come and meet their doctor, they're going to have more than one concern. And usually some of the health concerns that most people deal with has things to do with their emotions, has things to do with their thoughts, even if it's like a physical health condition like diabetes or headaches or even other physical ailments that they have. So it became an easy route for me to combine my passion for reaching a broader audience and making sure that our physicians and healthcare teams have additional help.
That's awesome. What type of education, training, or background does your job require?
Good question. And so in the general field of mental health, there are multiple ways that you can get to the clinical training that I have. And so my particular training is that I have a master's, and I did that in India. So my master's is in holistic psychological counseling. And then I came to the US to pursue a PhD in family therapy. In the US, mental health disciplines, they have a few major licensures. So at the end of the day, if you want to practice as a mental health practitioner, you need to be licensed. So you can be licensed as a psychologist, a LPC or a licensed professional counselor, or an LMFT, which is a licensed marriage and family therapist, which is someone like myself, or you can be licensed as a clinical social worker or an LCSW. Each of these require different streams of education to get into that field. So PhD psychology is considered a terminal degree, so you can only be licensed as a psychologist if you complete master's and your PhD and you become a clinical psychologist and you can practice. If you take a PsyD, which is like a doctorate in psychology route, which is similar but just a little bit more focused on clinical training, less emphasis on research and completing a huge research project like a PhD program. For those of you who are interested in becoming a licensed clinical social worker, you go through a social work program and then you specialize in like micro issues. That's where you learn to do clinical work. And then if you want to be an MFT, you basically complete your master's training in a counseling or a family therapy program. And all of these have state regulations on how you get licensed. But basically, you have to complete X number of hours under supervision. And after 1 to 2 years after you complete those requirements, you can be independently licensed to practice. So that's sort of like the long answer to your short question.
And just for clarification, can somebody that is in your position prescribe medication?
Very good question. No, we don't prescribe medication. So I always tell patients that I teach you skills and doctors give you the pills, right?
Oh, it's so funny.
So it's skills over pills or skills with pills. For a more technical audience, I would say we use behavioral medicine interventions, which are non-pharmacological in nature, meaning I don't do any prescription pills to work with people with the different concerns that they have.
Okay, that's good. Great. Thank you for the clarification. What type of skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to success or to succeed in your job? In regards to soft skills, the way that you talk to people or maybe time management?
Sure. I mean, you generally had to be interested in working with people. And if you don't have that kind of like a natural inclination towards that, it is not that it's not doable. It's going to help you a little bit more. The more open you are to challenging yourself, revising like previously held opinions and other things based on training, and you're generally open to a lot of feedback, the better it is for you. So interpersonally, it helps. You can build relationships easily. It helps if you can work with people without too much difficulty, and can be really flexible and adaptive. But at the end of the day, your skill sets, the things that you learn to be a profession, like a family therapist or a psychologist, you can get a lot of training to get very proficient at those. I think the other thing that makes it easy for someone in this profession is just your willingness to go into certain unknown situations with some kind of ease and comfort. Not that you're always confident, right? Because a lot of situations that are unknown are scary, but you can just sort of be present, and you sort of develop those skill sets over time.
Okay. Do you think that so you said you develop those skills over time. So you think that somebody that's not used to or does not feel comfortable working with people, they can develop those skills, or is it something that they have to be born with?
So, yeah, I think I'm generally of the mindset that says a lot of things can be learned and taught. But if you sort of don't find any satisfaction and meaning and energy from the work of like continuously working with people, there are other ways that you can practice the same degree or the same educational training that I have, right? So I don't have to always work with patients. I can do a lot of research in psychology and behavioral health and social determinants of health kind of issues. And so I can still use my training to inform other things, right? So I had a professor who trained me at the University of Georgia. He was trained as a family therapist, but he hated it, like working with patients directly. So what he did is he started doing a lot of research. So he does a lot of research on mental health, does a lot of research on family structure and family issues and how it impacts health and mental health and all of those things. So there are multiple ways to sort of use the skill sets, especially if you have your PhD.
So that's great to know, because a lot of people may assume that if you want to work in the medical industry or in the occupation that you work in, that you do have to work with people. But there's other avenues that they can take, and they're still helping out people even though they're not interacting with them first.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. There's health policy, management, all kinds of things.
What does a typical workday look like for you?
So that's a good question, because I have a couple of different roles within my primary faculty role. So it sort of shifts. So when I'm in clinic, I'm basically mixing between a number of pre-scheduled appointments and same day appointments that I get from my colleagues, right? So I start clinic around 8:00. So usually either at 8:00 or a little before that, I'm reviewing all the patients for the day and making sure that I know a good sense of who's coming in and who my particular follow-up patients are. And then I make sure that I have a plan for them, or I reviewed certain things that I needed to. And then I basically wait for the other patients to show up for my physician colleagues. And so somebody may have depression, somebody may have headache, somebody's interested in losing weight, somebody wants to be better at managing their blood pressure. So as these things come up, I usually say, hey, I can go see that patient for you. Or they may come and say, my patient in room number 2, struggling with her diabetes today. Can you go in and speak with her? So I just sort of we call those warm handoffs, right? So they basically hand off the patients to us. So we go and see them and for 20 to 30 minutes or so, and then we update the physician who gave us that patient, and then we move on to our next patient. So clinically, that's what it looks like if I'm in clinic. Otherwise, it's mostly a lot of management work of our projects. So that involves working on documents, writing, preparing presentations, getting with our different partners across the campus to make sure all the work is moving forward, I manage a team of about 6 to 8 people. And so we meet on a regular basis to take care of all of the project issues that we're dealing with. And then we, like right now, just got an email for potential funding that we want to apply for. So then we had to sort of say, do we want to apply for that? And because application is a long process. And so that takes up a lot of time and resources. So Mondays and Tuesdays is my clinical days. The rest of the time is where I am either doing these management tasks or teaching residents through 1-hour lectures. Like right before this call, I gave a 2-hour lecture to East Carolina University students, right? So they Zoomed me in and I gave them a 2-hour lecture. So tomorrow I have a lecture. So that's the other place where my time goes, teaching.
So it's never a typical day for you. Every day is a little different for the most part.
Every day is different. So it has its pluses and minuses. Yes. Sometimes I wish every day was just the same and all I had to do was just take care of patients and not worry about other things, or vice versa. But, it's good.
Can you tell me about a project that you've done recently or that you've been in charge of?
Yeah, we have this project called Primary Care Behavioral Health Partnerships Advancing and Transforming Health Sciences, or PCBH PATS. That's been our latest funded project from the HRSA, which is the Health Resources and Services Administration from the federal government. We're basically doing a few things. So one is we are making sure that our physicians and our medical learners are getting exposed to this idea of integrated behavioral health, and so that they know how to work with somebody who is not a traditional medical provider, right? Because people like me in the medical setting is not the norm. It's becoming the norm. So just teaching them about that. Second, we have part of that project is really developing curriculum so that we do a lot of curriculum work. Third of that is we're developing kind of like an app to improve learner and physician well-being as they are in training. And so that's a huge process that sort of goes back and forth. And then we are in the same project, we are partnering with multiple departments across campus to create a certificate for master's level students who are in the mental health discipline. So they can graduate with a certificate in this kind of work. So we manage that process with other people across campus. And then, of course, we're sort of evaluating all of this. So that takes up some time. And we are also expanding to new clinics as part of this project. So that project, as you can see, keeps me pretty busy.
Besides everything else that you do, it looks like, but you're really good at adapting and flexibility I'm assuming by what you do in your job or in your jobs.
I mean, I think it is stressful to say the least. Like, it's whatever is valuable is worth putting you through some extra difficult moments, right? But at the end of the day, we know that we're doing good work. And so that often makes up for the times that you do feel a little bit more stressed and sort of on the edge for things. Like I had the lecture today, and, I had a lot to prepare for that, but I also had other trainings and other things to attend for it. But, I put together what I knew and I delivered what I could. And at the end of it, I thought it wouldn't be helpful at all, but like the audience thought it was really helpful. So I was like, okay, I guess I was just being too hard on myself.
Even if you impact one person, I think that would probably make a difference for you, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So
then that takes me to my next question. What do you find the most challenging and the most rewarding when it comes to your career?
I think the most rewarding is essentially growing this program in the Rio Grande Valley. I think the RGV, the UT RGV as a system, being able to be part of the opening part of the medical school and having something like integrated behavioral health from the get-go is usually not the norm. So we're very happy that we get to do that. And the rewarding thing is like we have a core team, and I've seen them grow and sort of take charge and be independent with the work that we do. And so that's been really rewarding. Challenging is always making the bigger value case because what we're doing is not the norm. So financially, reimbursement and other things are always a challenge. And That's where even like healthcare policy and the current fee-for-service environment and things like Medicare for all of these things like become part of that thought process. So it is challenging to sort of make the sustainability sort of like a sure shot deal right now, but we're always working at it.
So I know that you stated that you normally work with other people. Who do you work with? What are their roles in working with you?
Sure. So in my immediate team, I have a director of special programs. I have a program manager. They both help me sort of strategize and think about all of our projects and manage that. I have somebody who works as a grants accountant, so she handles all of the money that we get. So a lot of our money is coming from either federal side or private matching foundations. And there's a lot of steps, and I don't know any of those steps than they do. So they actually help me make sure that we're financially solvent as we move through our different projects and if we need to apply for new funds and things like that. And then I also work with physicians and on a daily basis. So physicians are my colleagues and they are faculty just like me, but they teach the physical medicine part of it. I teach the behavioral medicine. I work with residents. So residents are physicians in training. And in particular, I work with family medicine residents. So that's sort of like my day-to-day life. But every now and then I do deal with administration. So those are people sort of like they're vice president of health affairs or the vice dean of financial affairs or things like that. So they're upper administration within the School of Medicine.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It all comes together so you can make all this possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's you form relationships and you maintain them, and that's an integral part of what we do. We recently had to build some bridges with our billing and revenue cycle team, right? So we had to sort of really work with getting to know them and understanding where they're coming from and slowly get them to understand what we need, because our future depends on their ability to take on some of the work that we want them to do.
That's cool. And it's awesome. That way people can know that they have to communicate with others, and it's all about teamwork anywhere, almost anywhere where they go. Yeah. So with all these projects, how do you maintain a balanced work and personal life? What do you do? What do you do to help you out?
Well, I'm successful at it times, and I'm not very successful at it other times. So I think sticking to a routine is actually the most helpful thing. Like I've been trying to, for the past couple of weeks, making sure I go to bed at 10:30, right? So like if you were to think about sleep as like a vital sign, like getting enough sleep is really important. So sticking to like personal routines, I think it's the best way for me to sort of like get a balance going. And then the second is at least twice a week right now, at least that's what I managed to do. Doing some kind of moderate to like vigorous physical activity usually helps. I started riding bike recently, and so that's like my thing to just do something. And I do believe in like mindfulness and meditation. And so I think that's an important practice, just to learn to sit quietly, whether you're just focusing on your breathing or doing more advanced things. So that's important. And then, at some point you do have to find some meaning in your work. If you don't find that meaning, then a lot of the times when stress gets really high, you're going to feel the intensity of the stress. But if you know that what you're doing is really important and impactful, then that sort of shelters you from the stress a little bit, right? I mean, think about parents. Like having kids are not easy, right? But
I have my kids, and I am aware that it's not the easiest job out there.
It's not the easiest thing, right?
I just want to lay in my room with the lights off, the door closed, and just decompress. I don't want to do anything. I just want to have some alone time, and it helps me.
Right. But even though you get to do that at times, there are times when like dealing with your kids may be stressful, but when you think about how much you do care and love them and your role as a mom and other things, it makes it a little bit easier to tolerate them, right?
Yes.
And so, and that's what I mean, right? Like, find value in what you do, just so that it also helps you and protects you as you deal with the everyday stressors.
So what would you recommend for students in high school or college to do in order to prepare for a career in your field?
So one is you definitely have to get your bachelor's, right? So you need to sort of like stay focused on that. And when you're in your bachelor's, like pay attention to subjects like sociology, psychology, and even like biology, because the way the field of medicine is going is just really beginning to understand how biological issues have psychological and social ideas and other things that come with it, right? So that's important to really address and be curious about early in your training. And then second, look at career options, right? So look at the clinical side, look at the research side, see what really interests you, and find what you're really passionate about. So if you're going from high school, the best thing to do is get into college and then stay on track, right? And then pay attention to the different things. If you're already in college, think about your next step. Do you want to work? Do you want to study further? And if you want to study further, it's usually a master's or a PhD route. So you can do a master's in social work, master's in counseling, master's in psychology, master's in family therapy. There's lots of options. So think about what your next steps be. And so take subjects in your 4 years that'll sort of get you to be most qualified for any of those positions or fields.
What other factors besides education and experience would impact the ability of a student actually wanting to go into that career? For example, having good credit, a criminal background, working hours outside of the 8 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Somebody who's already working, or somebody
No, so for example, what other aspects would impact their life or their ability to actually work in that career? If they have good credit or bad credit, would that help them out, or can that destroy their career? Or if they have a criminal background?
Yeah, as you get into licensing, and ultimately you're responsible for other people. Most of these, they really don't look at your credit score and financial status per se, right? But the more financially responsible you are, the better it is for you to sort of like work with all the things that you do have, right? So because you have to take potentially school, so if you're able to sort of handle that and by working and loans and other things, so you do have to have some financial planning ability to sort of take care of that. And if you do have a criminal background, it doesn't affect you from getting the degree or the training. It may come to, when it comes to licensing, you may have to disclose certain things, like if you've been sort of like, let's say, had any disciplinary actions against you at certain like healthcare systems or things like that. They may ask you about those things. So it doesn't prevent you, but it could be a factor in the future if it comes up.
What do you think is a secret behind getting to where you got to? What do you think made it happen?
Oh man, I think just a lot of luck.
A lot of luck. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of luck, and I think luck strikes people more when you're already on a path to being really curious and committed to what you're doing. I just finished lecturing to East Carolina University students, and we were talking about the work that I do and how to think about the clinical side, the operational side, and the financial side. And 6 years ago, when I started this job, I did not know the operational and financial side at all. So I just had to really like read, contact people, watch webinars, and read articles and get really curious about things. And that has gotten us some luck, because we had the skill sets that we needed when the opportunities came up. So
thinking back on your very first job, did it play a role in developing any of the skills that you currently have right now for this position? And if so, what are those skills?
So this is I guess this is not my first. This is my first job in the U.S. after training. So when I was in India, I did After my master's, I was working as a psychologist in India with different requirements and stuff there. And I think I learned a lot from my first job. And I think the skill sets that I learned was like always think about the highest professional quality of things that you can do and look at people around you who are doing their work to the best of their ability and try to mimic that, right? Because that you want to be the best. You're not always the best when you come at something. So find others who are better than you and learn to do what they do. And then always have that, exemplar people in your mind. So that really helped. And I think relationship building has always been a big part of the things that I've done in the past. And so being able to just meet people and connect with them is a big part of what I do, I think. And so that has definitely helped.
So a lot of networking for sure, right?
Yeah, I don't think networking is necessary, but I know in my sort of career path, it has played a big role.
And I can see that. I know that I've met you through, we kind of networked at an event, and that's how I got to meet you. And it's great to meet people, even if they're not in the same career as you, you may still encounter them later on.
Yeah. And it's almost important, right? Like if you have a group of friends and people that's very similar to you all in a lot of ways, and you haven't really been open to other things, then that becomes your circle of influence. But if your circle has like very different people and very different skill sets, very different beliefs and attitudes, then you are richer for it.
And I completely agree. Well, Dr. George, thank you again for taking the time for this interview. The information you shared is extremely valuable, and it will impact the lives of those viewing this video. And then for you guys, if you are interested in actually learning about this career or other careers and wanting to see if that career will actually fulfill the salary needs that you may need in the future, feel free to check out Texas Reality Check. Or if you want to explore other careers, you can check out Texas Career Check, Own It, or Career Coach. And all the links are located on our website, wfsolutions.org. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Dr. George.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much to Dr. George. We appreciate it. Thank you for staying on and listening. We're going to go ahead and take about a minute break while we set up the next interview. So if you want to stand up and do some stretching, get that blood circulating while we get the next video up and running, please feel free to do so. It should be ready in about 1 minute. All right, that was a quick minute. We're back. I'd like to introduce our next employer. It's Ms. Daniela Garza. Ms. Daniela Garza was born and raised in Rio Grande Valley. Not being born with a silver spoon in her mouth, she focused on obtaining an education that would help her achieve the dream of serving her community. As a physician assistant, Dr. Garza cares for and treats patients while working in a clinical setting with a medical team. Dr. Garza strongly believes the secrets to her success is genuine love for her community and a strong work ethic.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Hernandez, and I'm a Workforce Outreach Specialist with Workforce Solutions. Today with us, we have a very special guest who will be giving us some information on her profession. Dr. Garza, can you please introduce yourself, your job title, and where you currently work?
Hi, so my name is Daniela Garza. As she mentioned, I'm Dr. Daniela Garza now. So I'm actually a physician assistant, but the doctor part comes from the fact that I recently received my doctorate in medical sciences. So that's a doctor for a PA. And I work in the UT health system right now. So for the School of Medicine here in Edinburgh, Texas.
Awesome. So how did you become interested in this occupation, Dr. Garza?
So I always wanted to help people, and I always felt, well, I didn't. My grandparents, who I helped take care of when they were still here, I was their caretaker. And one day they just looked at me and said, well, why don't you do something like this for a living, like being a doctor? And I thought, whatever, like you're joking, like there's no way, I'm not that smart. And they looked at me and said, no, well, you are. You just take care of us instead of doing your homework, which I should have been doing in middle school, but I didn't. So, I ended up finding an article about different things in the medical field here in the Valley. And that's what happened. I actually was originally, things in life happen and things change. So what actually happened is I was accepted or pre-accepted to a medical school, Baylor College of Medicine through UTPA, which is now UTRGV. And I went to medical school and I realized I didn't want to be a doctor, like not an MD medical doctor. So I went to medical school and was like, this is too hard. So I left and I ended up finding 2 years later the PA profession or the physician assistant profession. So it was just by a luck of faith. But my main thing was that I really wanted to help people. I love medicine. I love helping people find a medical home. So one way or the other, I made my way into becoming a PA.
What kind of education, training, or background does your job require?
So with the PA profession, so if I was just a PA, not with the doctorate part, so to become a physician assistant, you have to complete a 4-year bachelor's degree, so an undergraduate degree. I ended up getting my bachelor's in biology with a focus in pre-medicine because, like I said, I was destined or wanting to go to medical school. And then I got my minor in chemistry and in English literature. And then, so you get your bachelor's and then you apply for PA school, which is a graduate school. It's a master's program. So when you look at my name, it has the DMSc, which is my new doctorate that I got in medical science. The MPAS actually stands for Master's in Physician Assistant Studies. So that's the MPAS. And then at the end of finishing physician assistant school, you actually have to apply for your national boards and certification. So that's where the physician assistant certified comes from. So that's where the PAC is at the end of my name.
Thank you for the clarification. For those of you that may not know, that's what it stands for. I know that I saw them and I was like, I wonder what it is. And it was So thank you for clarifying that. What does a typical workday look like for you?
So a work day for me typically is different from what you would expect from other medical professions. So pre-COVID, my day at work or my work day would usually start at like 6:45 or 7 o'clock because the clinic I'm actually typically the provider for is a clinic called the UTRGV Unimobile Clinic. So the clinic is an actual mobile. So it's a medical unit that has 2 exam rooms and it travels throughout the Valley. So with some sites, like if I'm going to Brownsville or if I'm going far up to Roma, we would have to wake up really early to make it all the way over there. So it's in 1.5 or an hour and a half one way and an hour and a half the other way. So it would be from that till whenever we would finish clinic. So there was times I would get home like at 8 o'clock at night. There were other times I would get home earlier. Now in the time of COVID, I am now currently the COVID drive-through testing site provider for the Edinburgh clinic that they have. So now my day or my work day here starts at 7 still, but I finish at 3:30 because it gets so hot outside.
What day-to-day responsibilities do you have for your position? I know right now you said that you actually are taking care of the COVID part. What do you do in that aspect?
So the COVID part that I do is, so I kind of oversee the rest of the medical staff that's here. And what I do as a COVID drive-through testing provider is that I'll end up seeing why people are coming here, and I kind of serve as the filler for this gap that medicine has right now. So for the patients who are too sick to go see their medical provider or their clinic, or some people who don't have a medical provider or a clinical home, and then they're also not super sick to be hospitalized, they come here in the drive-through. So what I do is I go, I see them, I assess them. So assessing means in medical terms is that I go, I talk to them, I get a history of like, hey, what's going on? How are your symptoms? Were you exposed to anybody? Are the symptoms getting better or worse? How long have they been? Are you taking anything? And they let me know. I do a basic heart and lung exam. And then if some of them need medication, so for example, I sometimes have patients who have shortness of breath and they don't have anybody, or their physician won't see them unless it's telemedicine. And telemedicine, well, you can't hear the lungs, right? So I can, because I see them here in person. So I'll send out an inhaler for them, or some of them need cough suppressant medication, and I'll just send out sparingly what some people may need.
What type of decisions do you make daily, and how do you come up with those decisions?
Well, in COVID, it's not as many as I used to do, but a lot of people, they'll see us when you go into a doctor's visit or a medical visit. You just see us kind of typing away, and the visits are like 15 minutes if it's a follow-up, or it should be 15 minutes. Or if it's a new visit, it should be about 30 to 35 minutes, right, for a good follow-up visit. And a lot of people think like, oh, we're just talking, things are moving really fast, amazing, but you don't know how much stuff we're actually thinking. So we're not only thinking, okay, what do I type of what they're telling me, but also it's like, okay, what am I going to diagnose them with what they just finished telling me? What am I going to diagnose them based off of what I've seen in the physical exam or on their labs, because blood work may be different than what the patient looks, right? And okay, if I'm going to diagnose them with those things, what's the next step? Am I going to order more labs? Are they going to need some imaging, like an X-ray, MRI, CT scan, ultrasound, mammogram, stuff like that? Do they need medication for that, or do they not need medication for that? If they do need medication, do they have insurance? If they have insurance, cool. What is their copay like with their meds? If they don't, oh my gosh, how am I going to get the meds that won't make them bankrupt, And what pharmacy then can I send it to that has those cheaper meds? So there's like a lot of things, or even the other one is like, what follow-up, or how soon should I follow up with them? Should I follow up with them in 2 weeks? Should I follow up with them in a month? Should I follow up with them in 3 months? Should I not see them until a year from now? So there's a lot of things that go on. So every time you see, or if you're privileged enough or fortunate enough to have your doctor let you see your summary of your visit, or your medical provider allow you to see the summary of your medical visit, all those things that are there, all that is all the thinking they've had to do, like of what to type about what you told them, how to type it, what other symptoms, what physical exam stuff did they see when they were conducting the physical exam, and also what is their plan. So that's actually how we know we think or voice the treatment to be is actually, what is your treatment plan? So a plan is going to have multiple steps in it, and those steps do take time.
So obviously, because it's somebody's life in your hands, right? When it comes to that, what type of skills do you think a doctor should have when it comes to soft skills? Or like for yourself, what skills do you have that makes you a better doctor or a physician assistant? Is it that you have to have good interpersonal skills, time management, that you have to be flexible?
So I think the best skill is that you have to be a good listener, because you really have to listen to everything they're telling you and kind of make together the story, or piece together the puzzle of what they're telling you about their health, or their health story. The other is that you have to really care and you have to love what you do, because sometimes it's as easy as like, oh, okay, well, Miss So-and-so, she has her diabetes, she's fine, her blood sugar could be better, but whatever. That's how some people could look at it, right? Some. But myself, I look at it and I think, okay, well, Miss Rodriguez, for example, just an example, not that I have a Miss Rodriguez right now, but just for example, and I could think, it's just because she's eating bad, but why is she eating bad? Is she eating bad because no one's taken the time to speak to her and talk to her and explain and teach her how to eat better? Maybe no one taught her how to read a nutrition label on the back of her food products or portion size, or maybe she can't afford her medication. Maybe she doesn't remember how to take her medication. Maybe she doesn't know how to read good in English, but maybe if you put the label on the meds in Spanish, that would help. So you have to really care, and you have to really have a good amount of compassion to do medicine, because I like to tell people I don't like to practice the business of medicine. I like to practice the art of medicine. And I work really hard to be a good artist with it, because I see every patient as someone different and someone who has an amazing story. And I want them to tell me that story, and I want to become part of their extended family. So my specific field is family medicine, so underserved family medicine at that. So I really strive to be part of their extended family. When they feel sick, they come to me. When they don't have meds, they come to me. When they feel really sad and feel like they're at the end of their rope, they come to me also. So that's a lot of responsibility, So to have that responsibility, I have to treat it accordingly. So I really have to care. And when they're talking to me about stuff, I really have to listen to them. I really have to be their advocate as well. So one of the things that happens to me, since I said I do underserved medicine, so my patients are predominantly from the Valley, from colonias, don't speak English, sometimes don't have the highest education level, or undocumented and stuff like that. And sometimes they don't get taken as seriously by other people out in the world, or other clinics or labs and stuff like that, or the pharmacy sometimes. Although I have good relationships with my HB pharmacists. And sometimes I have to advocate for them and be like, hey, they don't know how to do this. That's why I'm calling. This is what I asked. This is why they're going to you, and kind of be their champion.
What do you find the most challenging and the most rewarding when it comes to your position?
The most challenging is there's a lot of things I just can't change. I can't change the fact that my patients can't afford things. I can't change the fact that they've applied for insurance multiple times and it's just too expensive for them. Or I can't change the fact that they need all these services, but they don't have a social security, so they can't get those services. So those are really, really frustrating for me. Or that they don't have money even for basic stuff like, I wish you guys just ate a little bit better, but they don't have the money all the time to do that. Although I work on it and I find other resources for them, for food and stuff like that, but still, I can't change the amount of money they have. I wish I could. I wish I could give everybody a handout, but I can't. I'd be broke if I did. And what I find the most rewarding is, even though I'm out here and I haven't really been in contact with my patients, at least not in person or telemedicine or anything like that, some of them still find a way of contacting me. So I had one that told a colleague of mine who saw her for her women's visit that she misses me and that she saw my photo. They did an article on me recently because of the COVID stuff, and she cut out the article and put me on her little altar on people that she prays for. So that's really rewarding. Or my patients that, when it was really cold last year, I was in a colonia site that it was just freezing. It was freezing in there. They didn't have heating. And then the one little unit heater we had, I put in the reception area we had for my patients so they could be warm. So I was all bundled up in my coat and everything. And this one senora of mine walked a mile one direction to her house and a mile back to bring us una olla de abuelita hot chocolate. And it was hot, and she homemade it, and she brought it with us with cups and stuff, just as a nice token of gratitude. Or I have patients who bring me plants that they've planted for me that she's like, oh, I wanted this to give you this plant, and I've been growing it for like 2 months till it was good enough to put in a better pot for you. And, or bring me galletitas, even though I tell them, I hope you didn't eat those galletas because it has a lot of sugar. And they're like, no, it was for you. I just had one. I'm like, sure you did.
Just to taste it.
Yeah, una prueba. No, es para saber que están bien. So stuff like that, like the little things that they do to show that I'm not the only one that cares about them. They care about me back, and I do feel welcomed into their lives. And it makes me really appreciative that even now with COVID, I've been distant and I haven't seen them, unfortunately, and I miss them terribly for the past 7 months. They still make it a point to reach out, to message me. Some message me and said, oh, like we saw your article and we're so proud of you, or we miss you. And when I call them to be like, hey, I know you said that you need your medication. I saw, and they're like, Doctora, how are you doing? We miss you. We're praying for you. That acceptance by them means the world to me.
And that's great. It's because of that relationship that you build with your patients. And I can imagine that it's not the same for everybody that works in your position. It depends on their actual soft skills and their attributes that they have. And you have great ones. So how do you measure success when it comes to your position?
So I used to be in private practice when I first got out of PA school. And I made a lot more money in private practice, and I took a cut to come into academic medicine, and success for me was how much am I doing for my community? How much am I doing for people that come from places like where I grew up? So I didn't grow up with like a silver spoon in my mouth. My parents we were lower middle class. When I was growing up, we had food stamps, and my parents were barely starting out in teaching, and they were the first ones in their family to go to college. And it was hard. It was really hard. We grew up in a mobile home, which is great, and I see success as helping those who are growing up the way I started growing up, helping people who look like my grandparents, mis abuelos that came from Mexico, that refused to learn English because they're like, no, mi cultura. I'm like, fine. I'll talk to you in Spanish. That's fine. And that's success for me, helping, and the ability to help to the extent of my degree allows me to. That's what's important to me.
Is there any opportunities for professional development when it comes to your position?
So it's not the easiest. So like I said, I went back for my doctorate just because I wanted to get that terminal degree. So a terminal degree, in case people don't know, means that with what you wanted to do or what you got your original degree in, that's the end. Like there's nothing else I can get besides being a doctorate in medical science as a PA. That is it. So that was something that was professional development that I did on my own. But it also depended on why did I get that? So I got it because I wanted to do more stuff, so I want to teach. I want to help shape other medical providers that are coming up behind me, to teach and to act the way I am with my patients, how people should be with patients, So it's that. I think typically the profession of being a physician assistant and our equivalents, which are nurse practitioners, which are also great people. That's also a master's degree, by the way. And with us, we're just seen as workers. We're clinicians, and that should be it. But some of us want to do more, and we should want to do more. So like myself, I want to teach. I want to be a clinician and teach at the same time. Other people, they want to do business. So some will kind of go into business with other people or look at other ways how they can promote healthcare. There's some PAs that do social media accounts just to promote like health education and know about, what it is PAs do, or the day in the life of a physician assistant in whatever specialty they have. So it's just things like that. I think our profession isn't as much of like here, let's keep advancing, unless it all depends on that particular PA. Like, no, I'm going to advance it. Like, there's no like pathway on advancing it, so I'll create one for myself.
Awesome. So do you work more individually, or do you work more with a team? And if you work with a team, what roles do you play when it comes to working with you?
So, I mean, in the actual exam room, it's me and myself, right? But every clinician isn't a good clinician if it's not for the great team they have. So, like, all those people that you see in the workflow of a clinic, so the person who checks you in, the receptionist or the PSR, that's an important role, because they're going to make sure the patient gets a good firsthand experience. My other teammates will then be my medical assistants or MAs or my nurses. They're great because they're the ones that draw the blood, vitalize the patients, get some of their history going for me, and are also like, all these people are leading up and giving my patient a good experience before they come to me. So like happy faces, nice, very pleasant people to work with, because if they're not, and if you're like, hi, you're here to see PA Garza, well, my patients are going to be like, oye, esta, like, they're not very pleasant. I don't want to be here. But they are my welcome wagon for the patients, So it's very important. Or also like drawing, they save me time, so I don't have to go and check the blood pressure. I don't have to do the initial intake on the patients. They do it for me. Not to say I don't. I do. If the patient's blood pressure and stuff is too high, I'll do it myself. But they're the ones who get the ball rolling for me for the visit.
When it comes to your personal life and your work life, how do you balance that? Is it easy? I know sometimes in your field, it may not be 50-50. How do you make it work, and what do you do?
So it's not easy, and I'm sure all the people you've spoken to and interviewed, especially women, it's not easy, So that's actually something that I've become super mindful of. My wonderful partner is wonderful, but he's also a professional too, and he has a very busy schedule. I have a very busy schedule. So it's all about being intentional with your time. So I know that from this time to this time, that's when I'm at work. That's all I do. And then when I'm done, I schedule things for myself. I love lists. I love schedules. I love planning things. I'm not that go with the flow sort of person. I have to have a plan. So that helps me so I can have a personal life. If not, my life in work will just run me to the ground. So to prevent that from happening, I schedule like going to work out, because my own physical health and fitness is really important, because if I'm not healthy, I can't be out here working and helping others, right? So doing stuff like that, making time to make myself food at home, and that's something I enjoy, like doing things I enjoy. having time to read my book or meditate, that's my personal time so I can unwind. If you're in a partnership, having date night is really nice and intentional too, because if not, then you'll just talk about work, and that's not very fun, especially two medical people just talking about medical stuff isn't very fun or entertaining at all. So it's really doable. It's just about really thinking like, what is important to me outside of work? Okay, so now let's make time for those important things. That have nothing to do with work. Because if you don't, then you'll just be a workaholic, and that's no fun either.
What would you recommend students in high school or college to do in order to prepare for a career in this field?
I say, like, if you're able to shadow someone. So I had to shadow other physician assistants. I shadowed doctors before I got into the PA profession and before I wanted to be a physician, because I wanted to see not only what it's like doing the patient interaction, but I also wanted to see, like, what sort of lifestyle do you have? Like, are you just a workaholic and that's all you do? How are you with people? Like, what is the day-to-day like? So that's really important. And so you can know, do you really like it? Because it's a time commitment. It's not like it's more than just the typical bachelor's degree. It's longer, and that it requires a lot of stamina. Of course, being a good student always helps, always being open and willing to change and alter your study habits, because sometimes they don't work. When I went to physician assistant school or PA school, I thought, oh, I'm a great student. I know how to study. And oh my gosh, I did not know how to study for PA school. PA school was completely different animal. Yeah, I was just like, so you have to constantly be open to go to the drawing board, erase your original plan, and try something else. So that's really important, and being open to hearing constructive criticism is really important. So if a teacher or someone tells you, like, you're a good student, but maybe if you did this or maybe that, and getting used to that, because that's something you're going to get throughout your professional career. And, learn little by little how to time manage, is really helpful. And that's also a skill that's going to help you your whole life.
I love the way that you emphasized constructive criticism.
Not regular criticism. It better be constructive, because that's just going to help you grow as a person, as a professional. As a person overall, you need to learn and hear what people are telling you, maybe this wasn't that good, or maybe that wasn't that good, or maybe how you said this could be better, because everybody's goal should be, how can I be better? How can I do better?
What other factors besides education and experience do you think would impact somebody trying to go into that field? For example, do they have to have good credit, a clean background? Like for you, that you travel before COVID, you would travel from one side of the the region to the other? What do you think would work?
So that's actually interesting. I hadn't thought about those other things. But like, for example, as a physician assistant, you have to renew your Texas license or your Texas medical board license every 2 years. So now they started that we have to get background checks, which is fine, you know. There are some people I know that have like little flubs in their background. But like the medical board and the medical field, when they go into you getting your original licensure, will actually talk to you and be like, hey, like, what is this about? And it's your moment to be like, well, this is what happened. And they'll be like, okay, you're not a menace to society, so you're fine. You can see and treat people. You just messed up, and it's okay. People mess up sometimes, you know, and they see that we're still humans, we're still people. We're not like model citizens all the time. We try to be, but you know, all of us have had an issue here or there sometimes. So like I said, we would drive around. So I actually got certified to drive university vehicles. Nothing crazy. I'm not driving like a semi. But I could drive 15 passenger vans. So with that, of course, they had to look at my driving record like, hey, like she's not like has heavy footed where she's like speeding everywhere, because then that would not really help. You don't want to see a UT Health vehicle like flying down the expressway. So, you know, things like that, like those are the things that they kind of look at. They don't look at your credit score. That doesn't matter for them. But it's more like if you're going to drive other people in any profession, if you're going to drive others, they're going to look at your driving record. In this case with medicine, they want to just make sure your background check is clean. Like you don't have any like assault charges, you know, or any misdemeanors or felonies that are endangerment to women, children, elderly, other people. They want to make sure you're not a harm to the community you're going to be serving.
What do you believe, or what do you think is a secret to getting you where you're at right now?
Being a hard,
it's really a secret.
it's not a secret. I think it's with everything. Like, if you really want something, you can't just be like, oh, I really want it. Okay, great, you want it, but are you working towards getting it? Wanting it and getting it requires a lot of work in between. You know, it has a lot of successes, it has a lot of failures. Like I said, I was going to medical school, and then I was like, no, this isn't what I want. And I had to be okay with getting the fact that I was like, I'm not going. Like, I'm going to go somewhere else. It doesn't make me a horrible person, or I'm never supposed to be in medicine. It's just there was a different path, you know. So yeah, being dedicated, being mindful of what path, what is your goal, what do you want is what's really important, and also just being a hard worker. You know, I don't just know how to do my part of the clinical side, so I know how to check in and check out patients, so I know how to do the receptionist job. If I have to, or if they're swamped, I have no problem stepping in. I know how to draw blood, I know how to vitalize, I know how to get all this patient intake. because again, I want to be able to step in or help my medical assistants or my nurses if I have to. We needed someone to help drive the staff. So I took up the torch and I was like, I'll drive staff. That's fine. You have to be willing to be a hard worker and to not think more of yourself. You know, I have this degree stuff, but I'm not above everybody else. You know, maybe in the clinical room, yeah, like it's my call, these big decisions I have to make, again, over someone's health, but it doesn't make me better than the person sitting in the exam table. It doesn't make me better than my staff. It just means I went to school longer than they did. You know, I have a little bit more responsibility on my plate at the end of the day when it comes to each patient. But that's a decision I decided to take up and a responsibility I wanted to have. But it doesn't make me better than anybody.
Do you have any last words for the students?
Well, I just hope if you guys want to be a physician assistant, that's wonderful and fantastic. If you want to be a doctor, do that. If you want to be nurse practitioner, that's great. A nurse, an LVN, an RN, an RT. There's so many wonderful professions that are in medicine. It's not just MD. And that's it. There's a huge array of us. You could see a bunch of random little letters after all of our names. And it's all from hard work, a lot of dedication, and loving to help others to the extent of being part of their medical family and the medical community for them. And it's super doable. Don't get discouraged from it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's so much school, but it's not. It goes by so fast. Just like right now, those of you guys that are in 6th grade, in no time you'll be in 8th grade and be done with middle school. Not with school, just middle school. Once they're in 9th grade, high school's going to fly by. Those that are seniors now, you probably are like, oh my gosh, I still remember what it was like being a freshman starting high school. Everything passes so quickly, so do not worry about how long something takes. You know, because it is going to be the best time you have, because that's when you're a student and you get to learn so much stuff. That's when you can still mess up here and there because you're a student. It's not until you start working that, you know, you can't mess up as much. You can a bit because you're human, but not as much, you know? So it's, if you want to do it, go for it. There's nothing holding you back. The only thing that will actually hold you back is yourself. You either feel the motivation and you push yourself and drive yourself, or you don't. And if you don't, it's okay. Maybe medicine isn't for you. There's a bunch of other wonderful professions. Like I said, my parents are teachers and they love teaching, you know, and that's awesome. My partner's in academics. That's a great profession too. There's so many other things out there. Just all of those things need for you to dedicate time, energy, and to want to do it.
Dr. Garza, thank you again for taking the time to actually do the interview. I know you're super busy with work. The information that you provided will be of great value to those watching this video. And then guys, if you actually want to see more about this career, learn more about this career, you are more than welcome to go to Texas Reality Check, Texas Career Check, Own It, or Career Coach. And all those links can be found on our website, wfsolutions.org. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Ms. Dr. Garza.
Bye, thank you.
You should put- Yeah. All right, thank you so much. I apologize. As you know, with technical difficulties, we ran into a little bit of a lag there. Just before we get started with the next one, because we are running a little bit behind schedule, and I apologize for that. I know that Ms. Bettis was supposed to be scheduled to start at 9:30. We're running behind, but we'll make this quick. Just want to let you guys know, teachers out there, students, once this conference is over, these videos will be made available to you upon demand. Again, the apologies to Dr. Garza. That was the technical difficulties that we're having with the lag. If you would like to reschedule and get those videos for maybe if you have a career fair that's coming up and you need to go virtual, all of the employer interviews that we're sharing over the next 4 days will be available to you. So if you're interested, please reach out to us. And again, if you're on this, you probably have my email. So we're going to get started with Ms. Erica Bettis. Ms. Bettis is originally from Fremont, Texas, where she attended high school and graduated in 2000. She then went on to obtain her Bachelor's of Science in Nursing and her Master's of Science in Nursing at the University of Texas Pan American. She has over a decade of being a registered nurse, but more specifically, 6 of those years were dedicated to being a family nurse practitioner. Dr. Bettis' experience stems from working in the postpartum gynecology unit. I'm sorry, the print's a little small for me. Cardiac unit, postoperative unit, acute care settings, has had the privilege of working in immigration, has now solidified her decision in helping women of the Rio Grande Valley with their obstetric and gynecological care. Dr. Bettis is no stranger to hard work and perseverance. She knew that leading the healthcare community and other healthcare professionals would always be a long-time goal. So with no further ado, I don't want to take up too much time. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the video.
So hello everyone, my name is Midna Irene Garcia. I am a workforce outreach specialist with Workforce Solutions Lower Rio. Thank you so much, Erica, for being with us today. If you can please do us the honor of introducing yourself and give us your job title and where you currently work.
Yes, good morning everyone, and thank you for having me today. My name is Dr. Erica Bettis, and I am a family nurse practitioner. I currently work in a women's clinic in an OB setting that's part of Rio Grande Regional Hospital, and it's located in Alamo, Texas.
So how did you become interested in this particular occupation?
Well, you know, when I graduated high school in 2000, I came to UT Pan American, which that's what it was called at the time. And I have to be honest, I did not know what I wanted to become. A lot of people do come out of high school knowing that. I know here in the Rio Grande Valley, you have so many opportunities of getting your college credits in high school. Unfortunately, in Fremont, we didn't have those types of luxuries. So I really didn't have an idea as to what I wanted to become. Nursing wasn't really something that I saw myself doing in the future. I really didn't know. So going to college, I felt that I was going to find my way as I was there taking courses and things like that. As I started the first the first year, I decided that I wasn't going to do nursing just because my mom was in healthcare and my 2 aunts were nurses, and I figured that that was not the, the line that I wanted to take. So I decided I wanted to go into teaching. I took some courses and I decided that teaching was not for me. And it's fine because a lot of people kind of develop who they are during the early college years and decide that this is what they thought they wanted to do, but it didn't work out. So I'm so glad that I realized that early. And then I wanted to do some physical therapy work because I loved sports and leisure activities and things like that. And then after taking a couple of those courses, I just didn't find that that was my passion. One day I found myself in the nursing building and I decided to take the leap and go into nursing. I've always found myself caring, a caring person. I'm sure that we all have those attributes and qualities, but sometimes some people just really, really love to care for others. And I just felt that that was something that I wanted to do. I graduated with my bachelor's in nursing at the University of Texas and eventually went off to get my master's degree at UT Pan Am also. And so I just had this passion in me that I just wanted to continue with nursing. And I knew that nursing wasn't the only thing I wanted to do with my life. There was more from nursing that I wanted to build from. And so I just, that's kind of how nursing came into my life, and it became something that became real to me. And now I'm a practicing nurse practitioner, and I enjoy it completely.
Well, that does resonate when you speak about your profession. So can you tell me, I know you touched a little bit about, your bachelor's degree, which is your undergraduate studies, but what kind of education, training, or background does your particular job entail?
Well, the background and training normally starts with you going to getting your degree. So when you're in your undergrad, and just be mindful that there are different types of nurses out there. I'm sure that you've heard of them. A lot of them start from an LPN level, which is a licensed vocational nurse. And there's some schooling around the Rio Grande Valley that provides that. And then above that is a registered nurse, and you can have your associate's and your bachelor's degree. And with me, I wanted to obtain my bachelor's degree and forego the associate just because I knew that I wanted to obtain my master's. And that was my long-term goal at the time, was to obtain my master's degree. And so in the bachelor's program, that is where you begin to learn that nothing in life, when you're treating patients or taking care of patients, is black and white. There's always so much gray in between. And that's when you start to really learn the difference in on how things happen, the physiology, the anatomy of the body, how things work, and that all happens during the undergrad program, during the program, going through your schooling. Not just that, it's not just all book. It's you also go into clinical settings. So you go into the hospital setting, possibly nursing homes, long-term acute care centers, where you actually start to put those skills to use. And so that's how you learn. Then once you become a nurse, you learn on the job. And so everything that you learned in school is just a foundation. You're always gonna feel that what you learned was never enough, and it's gonna come, you're gonna use it. It's just that you really, really learn what you're doing is when you're on the job training, basically. And so that's when you learn the most. That's when you really start to realize that, nursing isn't just a job. It's really a holistic type of position that you go into. You have to care for these people with everything that you have as if it was your own family member. And so when you talk about skills and what you learn, what you need to become a nurse, I mean, that all comes with time. But I think your foundation definitely has to be the passion and the want to help others and to see better healthcare in the future. Many people go into this position for maybe monetary reasons. Sometimes you do hear that, unfortunately. Maybe for just a self-profession or gain to maybe go up the ladder in some way, but there's never really that foundation of really wanting the care is not really there. And you can see that initially, and it's unfortunate. But not everybody is like that, and so that's when you really start to find out who you are as a nurse and what you want to do with it and what you want to become. So with skills and training, that all happens from the beginning, from nursing school all the way till where I am now. I learn every day. Healthcare changes on a daily basis. Nothing is stagnant. Nothing will ever be the same. Every day you will see a guideline changing. Books are always coming out, the latest and greatest books that you can read up on. The standard guidelines change often, you know, so as a nurse and as me being a practitioner, I have to keep up with those guidelines. So going back to your question, you're just always learning. The skills will never be the same. You can start off with doing one skill when you first started nursing school, and you can tell that from 10 years later, like me, 10 years later, things do change, you know. So you're just always learning on the job.
Now, I hear you mention skills. What type of skills, abilities, or personal attributes are essential to the success of your job or your field?
You know, when I talk about skills, it's mainly medication administration. You have to have like you go through these the standard of how you should offer medications, make sure that you have the right person, the right name, things like that. And they just, kind of drill that into your head because you want to provide that care to the patient, specifically to that patient, because there could always be a mistake. And so they're always trying to teach you to be, aware of, what you're doing and who you're giving it to, and at what time are you giving the injection and things like that. And so when I talk about injections, that's another skill that you are learning also, is how to inject patients with, maybe giving them a shot intramuscularly, or even starting an IV. So those are skills that you will be learning, even as basic as changing a bed. So I know that some people think like, oh, I can, change my own bed and I know how to do that, but there's definitely certain ways on how to do that. And as a nurse, those are the basic things that you'll start learning, is just how to change a bed, and how to offer care to patients that are bedbound, how to bathe a patient, things like that, things that we think that are just so easy. But when you have a patient that has multiple issues going on, a broken leg or possibly wounds and things like that, those are a lot of things that you have to really be careful and mindful of. So those are skills that you learn along the way. Like I said, nursing is just constantly changing. So you will always have to keep up with the newest things that are happening. And that's like the greatest thing about healthcare, and is that if you love anatomy and you love the way that the body works, and you see yourself helping others, I mean, skills like this will just come naturally because it's just in you, So, but those are some of the skills that, we have to learn as a nurse. You always have to go back to your foundation. And even me as a nurse practitioner in my clinic, I see myself doing a lot of things that I learned when I was back in nursing school, So, and that could even mean just basic vital signs. As a nurse practitioner, you normally don't do your own vitals. You have a medical assistant to do that for you. But in my clinic, sometimes we're shorthanded, things like that. And so we always try and make it work. It's a collaborative approach, a team approach, to make sure that we offer the best care that we can to our patient and our population. So whatever you learn, the foundation is never going to leave you. You're always going to be a nurse. And I'm always a nurse. I am a nurse practitioner, but that's my foundation is a nurse. And so that's just in me. It's who I am. It's where I started. And, I mean, it's just an amazing profession, so skills, again, you'll always build off of what you learned from the beginning.
So Erica, tell me, what does a typical workday look like for you?
Well, I really love my job. I do. I hope that you can tell, because I hope it resonates. I hope you guys feel that. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, is I'm in OB. So I'm in obstetrics and gynecology. So I primarily work with patients who are pregnant, and that could be from the teenage years all the way up to adulthood, 45 years old. I have a patient. So it's just, it's great. My typical workday is basically helping patients go throughout their prenatal care, making sure that they have the prenatal vitamins, that they're intaking proper nutrition, that the baby is doing well. And if we do ever find that there is a high risk pregnancy, whether it be because of diabetes or high blood pressure or any type of other issue, maybe advanced maternal age or a patient that is above 35 years old, those are high risk for us. And so we can have from the easiest patient to being it's their first pregnancy and they're perfectly healthy, all the way to the spectrum of, having this woman who is 45 years old on her possibly 10th pregnancy with high blood pressure or diabetes. And we have to figure out how do we make sure that the mom is safe, but also the baby. And so a typical workday is just basically making sure that we are offering the best care to this community. And the community that I work in is an underserved area. And so this is the population that I love to work with because they are in need the most, and I can relate because I come from a small town. We have minimal resources. We did not grow up with, insurance and things like that. So we always had to find ways to, what are the community resources out there that can help us. And now that I'm in a higher position, I want to give back, and when I say give back, it means the knowledge that I have gained throughout my entire nursing career, but bring it down a notch to educate the population. Now, it's not just specific, my job is just not specific to prenatal care, but also gynecological care, such as annual exams for women, pap smears, checking for sexually transmitted infections, talking about birth control to a lot of the teenage girls out there. We do get to see a lot of that. And so just by educating, it's key, because if you don't know, then you don't know. And so there are always going to be taboos, especially with the Hispanic culture, that, we can't talk about sex or birth control or things like that. But if you come to the clinic, we're always we're an open book, and we're definitely, keep everything private, things like that. But we're so ready to offer, any type of information. So my typical day will be just primarily working with women. And so it's what I really love to do. I think we can also, right now, because I have my doctorate degree, I'm also going into some leadership skills, leadership opportunities, where I will start to possibly, lead other tasks or come up with types of protocols that could change the way that a hospital can run or a clinic can run. And the reason why is we want to better the clinic and offer better standards of care. Quality of care is important, and also safety. So those are some of the things that I do throughout the day. I work with a physician. His name is Dr. Renee, and he is my medical director. He comes in on Wednesdays to primarily see the patients that are 32 weeks pregnant or above, and he will be the one to deliver the baby. I do not do any deliveries. I do get asked that a lot because I do most of the prenatal care actually throughout the entire pregnancy, which I love. And so at the end of the pregnancy, I always love to see the patients come back postpartum, just to see that this was our work and this is what we helped you get, was this beautiful baby, healthy baby. And so that is what I do every day, all day. And it's something you have to love. And I have to stress that whatever you go into, whatever you decide to do, make sure that you love it with your entire being, because that's just the most important thing, because this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. And you want to love it. You want to, just enjoy what you do.
So Erica, you talked about some of the great things about being a nurse practitioner. Can you share with me, what are some of the problems that you encounter daily in your position?
Yes, well, some of the problems that I encounter are more specific to the population that I work with. It's an underserved area, and a lot of these patients don't have the proper care that they need. So prenatal care should start even before you even think about getting pregnant, or when you're thinking about getting pregnant, that's when the prenatal care should start. So you should start taking prenatal vitamins, folic acid, drinking lots of water, staying healthy. And then the pregnancy begins, and then you start choosing, who's my physician? Who should I go to for my prenatal care because you want to start that as soon as you find out that you're pregnant. However, that's not always the case. In the clinic, the hardest thing that we see is patients coming in maybe mid gestation, so they'll maybe come in around the 5-month mark, which is fine because we can still work them up and we can still, you know, work labs and make sure that everything is good. But the longer you wait, the harder it is. And so when I say that, one key example is, you know, a patient coming in at 38 weeks pregnant and she's due at the 40-week mark, you know. And so when we see patients that come in right at the time that they're about to deliver and they've had no prenatal care, it makes it a little difficult because we don't know what issues are going on. We don't know if there's issues with the baby, if they have enough fluid in the bellies, if there's any type of issues as far as like malformations going on with the baby inside. So those are some of the things that we do have to deal with, and it's difficult, but it's something that we can't handle. We're used to handling types of situations like that. So we find a way to make it happen. Dr. Luna and I collaborate really well together. We discuss each patient that is extremely high risk and how we can make sure that they get the best prenatal care with the short amount of time that they're here with us. So that's probably the hardest thing that I've seen within the clinic is just managing patients that come in a little bit late. But other than that, like I said, it's not that we can't manage it because we definitely can. I feel like, you know, we do our best every day to make sure that they get the best prenatal care that they can. One other example for, you know, some of the harder things that we do see is that, you know, here in the Rio Grande Valley, Cameron County was one of the counties that was highest in cervical cancer. And cervical cancer is caused by the human papillomavirus or the HPV virus. And so a lot of people don't know about that. And that is the reason why we need to get pap smears, right? At the age of 21, we should start, you know, getting pap smears to make sure that we're not dealing with cervical cancer. And here in the Rio Grande Valley, Cameron County was one of the highest at one point of rates of cervical cancer. And so I did some research and I went back and I looked and I was thinking, well, why is that the case? What's going on here in the valley that this is happening? And one of the main reasons is because it was lack of education. Patients did not know about getting a pap smear, how to preventative care. So at the age of 21, we need to, you know, get pap smears. At the age of 40, we get mammograms. So those are things that we need to teach the population, and much of the population do not know about that. So that's why we're seeing such a high rate. And also the other thing is that there are vaccines out there to prevent this, and many people don't know about the vaccine. Another reason is it's taboo, right? If you get a vaccine, then that's bad, and it's a sexually transmitted infection, so it can lead to other things. And again, not the case, you know. And it's all about just sitting down with somebody who has some background, the education to teach you about these important topics, and to make an informed decision on your own whether or not, you know, you want to get the pap smear or get the vaccines, things like that. So those are some of the harder things that we have to deal with. Cervical cancer is one of the slowest cancers out there. It's not something that you'll find out one day and you know, something really terminal can happen in the next, you know, 1 to 2 months. This is kind of like a slow process. However, it's good to catch early to prevent worse things from happening. And a lot of times, sometimes these patients come in at the worst case possible, and so it's either life or death at that point. And so it's come to a, you know, it gets to a certain point where once you come in and you start feeling these symptoms and you're not, you know, this is unusual to that particular patient, you know, it's really hard to you know, to discuss end of life at that point, you know. But it's very rare, but it does happen, you know. And so those are just some harder things that we do have to deal with in the clinic. But, you know, I mean, it comes with the territory working in healthcare.
Well, thank you. So I know that there's a variety of various different challenges to working with diverse populations, but can you share with me some of the things that you find to be the most rewarding in your career?
Yes. Well, working with, I've worked in a few different practices, and a lot of these practices were private clinics who were able to serve patients who did have insurance, and they didn't, have a lot of, they didn't go through a lot of struggles, because it's private insurance. So they're able to see physicians and go to their appointments and things like that. In this population that I work with, a lot of our patients don't have that luxury to get seen right away, or to go to get prenatal care, or don't even have a car to get to their appointments. So when I work with this population, I feel like the most rewarding part of my job is just seeing these patients that are so appreciative, that bring me, they don't even have to bring me anything, even just like a thank you and a hug at the end of their delivery is enough for me to just feel like we established a bond for 9 months. It's just, I mean, it's just, when you have that passion in working with this particular type of community, that there's no expectation, there's nothing that I need back from them other than just, helping them get to where their pregnancy needs to get to, or their delivery and having a healthy baby. But just the thank you, or just like, thank you, Dr. Bettis, for everything that you did, is just enough. It puts such a big smile on my face, and you can just see them when they leave, like, we'll see you later, and, see you on the next baby possibly, or, see you around, things like that. But I don't think that there's anything better than just the thank you at the end. There's nothing that we need in return from any of our patients, but the thank you is always, enough for us in the clinic. And so that's probably the most rewarding part of my job.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So can you tell me, how often do you work with various different other career fields? Maybe it be from phlebotomists to doctors. So who are the different individuals that you are surrounded by on a daily basis?
Well, in the clinic, currently, it's just myself and 2 medical assistants. The physician comes in on Wednesdays only, and he's there for about 4 hours. We don't normally work with phlebotomists because our medical assistants do all of the phlebotomy work. So that means that they draw the blood and they do the vital signs, which are blood pressure, height, and weight. So everything is pretty much done within our clinic, which makes it so accessible to many patients, because you don't have to go to different places to get certain things done. 9 times out of 10, everything is done within our clinic. We draw the blood, you come in, I perform the pap smears, or I educate you, talk about birth control, we prescribe there. So we don't, we collaboratively work with other people. Sometimes we send patients to laboratory, which is a laboratory right next door to us. They know us very well, so we work in conjunction with them. They send us patients who may need prenatal care, or found out that their pregnancy test came back positive, so they send them our way. So we work very well with them. We also have promotoras that are within our, that work with us in the clinic. And a promotora was something that I had just heard of. Like I said, I'm not from my biography, I'm from Fremont. So we didn't know what promotoras were. I didn't specifically. And so when I came down here, they're pretty much a community social worker that helps in the community, that helps these communities find resources, possibly for prenatal care like us, or how to start their process of their insurance process to help them get into the clinics, things like that. So we work really close with them as well. They help bring in a large amount of patients into our clinic, and these are patients that didn't know about us and that we're able to serve, and they're able to get treated throughout their 9 months of the pregnancy. We work, like I said, I have a collaborating physician that I work with, and so he comes in on Wednesdays, and so we work really closely with him. Since we're part of Rio Grande Regional Hospital, we are an HCA organization, so we do work really well with the hospital. If there's anything that goes on in the hospital, that we need to be a part of. You know, we always attend. We also work within the communities to do health fairs, just to get our name out there, and so that way people know who we are. We do breast cancer awareness type things, cervical cancer awareness month. We go out and talk to go to a community center and do like presentations to just let the community know about particular issues, women issues, more specific to cervical cancer, getting your pap smears done, things like that. So we pretty much, it's in healthcare, it's not just about what you do, you know, just in your realm, and that's it. And in my case, I'm in obstetrics, but that's not the only thing. Like, you have to work with so many other people, a team of people, to make your clinic function and thrive. And so by doing that, it's not an individual type of task or job that you will be doing. You're working with others, and so you definitely have to, you know, deal with different personalities and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's always about the patient and how we can make the patient feel comfortable and also offer patients safety. So so it's just not an individual person that you're going in to see. Everything is happening in the background that you may not know, but things are definitely working in the back to make sure that, you know, these particular patients are getting what they need throughout the day.
The best.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Erica. It sounds like there's a large part of what Rio Grande Regional Women's Clinic does that's very holistic, and it encompasses a large team and pulling in a lot of various different individuals to make sure that you have that quality care for the patients. That's wonderful. Well, Erica, that concludes our interview. I'd like to thank you so much for taking time for this interview. Please know that the information that you've shared today is invaluable, and it will impact the lives of those that are viewing this video. So for those of you that are watching, of course, thank you. So for those of you that are watching, if you're interested in learning more about this career as a nurse practitioner, we do encourage you to further research this position through Texas Reality Check, ONET, and Career Coach. Links for all of these can be found on our website at wfsolutions.org. Thank you so much for watching, and Erica, thanks again.
Oh, that picture makes her look so bad.
So thank you, everyone. We have Erica Bettis present. If Erica, we can have you unmute yourself and you can answer some questions. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to do so.
Sure, can you hear me?
Or rather, if you can add your questions to the Q&A and we can read them out loud, and then Erica can answer them for you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
So I know we did have a question. Maybe we can just review it. It was, what was the most toughest thing in the beginning when you first started your job?
Yes, well, Patty Conde was the one who asked that question, and my response to her was that it's challenging at the beginning because, you know, you're first going in as a nurse, and this is just me going in as a registered nurse at the time. It can be challenging because you're now putting all of your skills and your knowledge to use, and but not just going through that is challenging, but you're also getting on the job training. So you may feel like, you know, scary at times. It may be a little, again, challenging to start off as a nurse and not know what's going on or feel like you don't know enough. And that's a very common feeling that you would feel. But as you go through your on the job training, you're never alone. You will always have your secondary nurses who are working on the floor with you. You will always have resources on the floor. And you always have a charge nurse. And this is more of a hospital setting that you would be working in. When I became a nurse practitioner, things felt kind of the same. You think that just because you're a nurse already and you've already had some of those experiences with medication and patients and patient safety, that you might feel just a little bit more confident. And in many ways you do, but it's definitely a different setting, because now instead of you caring for the patient specifically as a nurse, you're carrying out these orders. You are now the one giving the orders. So now you are the one prescribing medication. You are telling the patient what to do and how to take care of themselves and how to implement daily things for, to improve their lifestyles and things like that. So every time that you change a position, it's always going to be something new. And then furthermore, going into a leadership role also is, again, now it's another different, realm from nursing, still part of nursing and still part of me being a nurse practitioner. But as you noticed, I do have my doctorate degree. So with that, there are, different roles and pathways that you can go through, and becoming a leader within the organization has also been a little challenging because now it's something different. We're not working at the bedside per se. We're now working with quality and how we can change the organization or the clinic that you work in to offer a continuous patient safety and quality care within the clinic. So I hope that answers your question. If anybody else has anything else.
Thank you so much, Erica. We do have one more question from Erica Bettis, and her question is roughly around how long did your NP degree take? And also, what is the toughest curriculum/class that you feel like the future students pursuing an NP degree will need to study now?
Well, when I went into NP school, I took the full-time route. I was already a registered nurse, so I had to really think, and this could be different for everybody. I was already a registered nurse at the time, so I was going to school as a nurse practitioner, and that's a 3-year program. If you decide that you want to take the quicker route, it's a 2-year program, but you have more curriculum and more courses, more hours that you're taking. The reasons why I chose to continue to take the longer route. So I was a part-time student. So I took less courses, but it took me 3 years to graduate. And the reasons why is because obviously at that time I was already a registered nurse and I was already working and I had a home that I had to pay. And so, as you start your job, you start to, go into things, buy things that you probably never thought would happen. Maybe some of you raised a family at that time of maybe even becoming, getting your bachelor's degree, but then you decide you want more. And so sometimes life gets in the way. In my case, I didn't have any of those things holding me back at the time. I didn't have any family at the time, or, a child at the time. So it was easy for me to make that transition, but I still had, bills that I had to pay. And so that was the reason why I chose to take the the part-time route, which I graduated in 3 years. But as one of my previous colleagues had mentioned before, is that don't worry about the time. The time will come so quickly that you won't even realize 3 years had already passed. And so once you get to the end, you'll just think like, oh my goodness, it went by so fast. I can't believe I'm already a nurse practitioner. And then you're looking at the next goal in your life. So that is the reason why I chose that route. The classes that you can prepare for in what helps you is your foundation. So you have to be a registered nurse. So those courses that you learned will always be the foundation to your nurse practitioner. Now, once you get into nurse practitioner school, there's going to be courses that you kind of that you learned along the way in your undergrad, but these are more in depth, more detail, more physiology and how things particularly work, which is really interesting to me. And it could be interesting to those of you as well to see how the human body works and how certain medications can affect the human body. So you'll go into like medication usage and the way that the medication is formulated and how those particular medications can cause side effects and things like that. So I can't tell you one specific thing that you can do to prepare for nurse practitioner school, but because it's just a whole range of things, and it all really just starts from the foundation of your nursing career and becoming a nurse. If I could recommend anything to any of you students, is that if you are looking to further your degree in nursing, and that would be as a nurse practitioner, is it just always you're always continuously learning. You're never going to stop. And so you're you always have that foundation to back you up. But always just try and be up to date. If there's an opportunity for you to go and shadow somebody, or you have a friend, or even me, you can even reach out to me, and we can see about maybe you coming and just shadowing and things like that, just so you can get a kind of a better feel as to if this is what you want to do. But in general, there's no one particular class it's really that I would want you to focus on, because medicine is just it's such a grand scheme of things that it encompasses so much, and you'll definitely be able to utilize every single thing that you learn along the way in your nursing in your nurse practitioner profession.
Erica, thank you so much for that. Now we still have one more question, and that is also by Patty Conde. The question is, did you try your best to make your boss as pleased as you could, and about how, regarding the amount of work that you did?
I think at the beginning, when you first start off in any career, you always want to please other people. And I think that you really, as you, and this isn't any line, I can't just say that's probably more specific to healthcare or anything like that. I think it's with anything that you do. I think going in, you kind of always want to be the shining star. You want to be able to prove your boss, that you're able to do this job and that you're doing it at a, excellent, a pace, and you're achieving all of these goals and things like that. But at the end of the day, it can be very tiresome and kind of overwhelming, and can just cause a lot of stress. And so the last thing you want to do is, it's good at a certain point in your life, but I think eventually you can get burned out by that. And when I say burned out, it means that you no longer maybe appreciate your job and what you do and how you do it. And then you start to just feel like you're coming to work just to do work. And it doesn't, there's no meaning, there's no fulfillment. There are many times I can say, because, I'm almost at 40 years old, and I've been working, like I said, as a nurse for a decade, and almost 6 years as a nurse practitioner. But I can currently just say that right now, I used to be that person, but I also have learned to develop a backbone and to know how much I can take as on my plate, to where I'm still able to offer the best patient care all around, but also to know that what I do have on my task or on my plate is going to get done, but it just doesn't become the priority at the time, but you always have to set yourself up for, just make sure that you have goals and that you're meeting everything, but that you're also providing the best care, and that you're also performing performing the best that you can as a nurse practitioner, or any job that you do, because the last thing you want to do is be that person that you just don't feel like your job is fulfilling anymore. So it can be very easy to want to please others, but at the end of the day, it has to be about you as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Erica, for answering that for us. Now we have one more question, and that is from Leila Guzman. And the question is, what do you find to be the most challenging part of your job?
Leila, I think the most challenging part right now is the transition between working as a clinician right now. And as you know, I have my doctorate degree, so that means more opportunities in leadership. And so I'm just trying to find a balance between those two, because I love being a clinician. I love helping others. I love offering education to those who don't know about certain disease processes, or maybe about birth control, or even prenatal care, things like that. So there's a fine line, because once you go into leadership, you kind of start to shy away from the bedside and being a clinician, and you're becoming more of an administrative role and things like that, and more office duties, and which I'm excited for, but I still kind of hold on to that patient care, because that's who I am. It was my foundation. I became a nurse for that reason, because I loved helping others. And working in an underserved community in the area that I work in off of Tower Road, we definitely service a lot of the underserved areas, such as Donna, part of Weslaco, the Far Alamo area. And the patient population is very different from what you may see in a private practice clinic. And so the most challenging part of working in this area is patients who don't really have the opportunities to get the proper healthcare that they need because they don't have the resources. But in our case, we try to offer as many resources available within the community to make sure that these patients get the quality care that they need.
So hello, everyone. My name is Meet Irene. Okay, sorry about that. That was the last question, Erica. I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to answer our student questions. Unless anyone has any other questions, that concludes our interview for today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bettis, for joining us this morning. Up next is our next video. It's Honorable Judge Renee Rodriguez-Benincourt. And we'll go and get that started right now. Bear with us. We're running into some technical difficulties. Just give us a few minutes. If you want to take the opportunity to stand up and do some stretching real quick before we get into the law enforcement portion of it, please give us about 2 or 3 minutes and we'll come right back to you. Thank you. Okay. This is ridiculous.
everyone. My name is Jasmine Hernandez, and I'm a Workforce Outreach Specialist with Workforce Solutions. Today with us, we have a very special guest that when elected, she was named the youngest district court judge in the state of Texas. Judge, can you please introduce yourself, your job title, and where you currently work?
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Jasmine, for having me. Yes, my name is Renee Rodriguez-Betancourt. I am the judge of the 449th District Court here in the state of Texas, but in Hidalgo County.
How did you become interested in this occupation or field?
So in the state of Texas, in order to become a judge, you actually have to be a practicing attorney, and you have to be practicing for about 5 years. So it's kind of a two-part thing, because my first occupation is a lawyer, and then of course now I'm a judge. And so the reason I wanted to work in the legal field or become a lawyer was because my parents are migrant workers, and I say are because they actually still migrate up north to package watermelons. My dad helps package, or my dad is an expert in his field. He actually knows how to choose which watermelons go into those bins that you find in an HEB. And my mother, she makes food for the workers. This is how my parents, provided for us growing up. This is all they know. They got married at 15 and 16 years old, and they became migrant workers at that point, and became successful in their field, but it took a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work, and they're still working in these conditions, but that's what they love. And so when I was growing up, I saw a lot of injustices involving my father in regards to his lack of knowledge about a contract with a farmer or with a grower, kind of being short-ended, also growing up. My parents were really strict with me, so I really would escape my life sometimes by diving into a book. And I know it kind of sounds cliche, but that's kind of where I, learned a lot of things I wanted to learn, because my parents were busy trying to survive, every day, month by month. And so I really love, the learning about history, the slavery movement, the Chicano movement, the civil rights movement, where all these injustices were happening. And it was always something that was consistent, was there was always a lawyer involved. There was always somebody that, would represent them in court. Lawyers were the ones that go to Supreme Courts and change, decisions that, ended segregation, that integrated schools, that allowed me to go to law school, allowed females to do things that we weren't able to do in the past. So I knew being a lawyer, that's how I could change the world, or at least make it better, or at least help others to, help others in situations where they found themselves in trouble. So that's really why I chose to be a lawyer. And then from there, of course, I decided to run for judge. In the state of Texas, you are elected as a district judge. So this court is a 449th District Court, and let me tell you some background on it. It's a court where all the cases I preside over are juvenile cases. Those are children ages 10 to 16 who are charged with breaking a law in the state of Texas, and they sometimes get detained, or they have to come before me to be prosecuted for those charges. And so for me, this court, there was an opportunity where it was open. There was no one was going to run for it. And I felt that this was my time to do what I always wanted to do, and why I became a lawyer, to help others and to make a difference in others' lives. And I knew that in this court, I could do that. So I ran against two other individuals, the actual judge who served as the 449th, the incumbent, and another male lawyer. And obviously I was successful, but it was a challenge, and it was very difficult campaigning, leaving my family and just dedicating myself to that. So I was successful, and so now I'm here serving this capacity.
That's awesome and very inspirational. So I know you said that you did have to be a lawyer. So you went through your bachelor's, and then you had to continue your education. To start off with your bachelor's, was your bachelor's related to the law enforcement field, or to being a lawyer, or what was it in?
So I actually completed my undergrad at the University of Texas Pan American, which is now UTRGV. My major was in political science with a minor in English and history. Again, ever since I was a little girl, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. So I kind of, again, taught myself, what do I need to do? How do I need to get there? So I knew political science was that major that most people that went to law school kind of majored in undergrad. And then, of course, your writing skills are extremely important. Your reading skills are extremely important when you go into law school. And so history and English were obviously, something that I would need. And that's why I decided to minor in both those areas. But political science is government too. They classify it as government in in different universities. So that's usually the go-to major that people will major in order to continue on to law school. But of course, it's not necessary. You can major in whatever, you can get your degree in whatever you want to get in and also apply to law school. It doesn't have to just be political science or government or law enforcement or, anything in the legal area. It can be I went to law school with people that were doctors or people that were engineers or majored in engineers or philosophy. So it can be whichever major. There's not a specific major.
What type of skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to be successful in your position?
So as a lawyer, it just depends on what type of law you want to practice. For example, before I took the bench, I did a lot of criminal defense. I represented individuals who were who were indicted with a charge that they may or may not have committed. It is the responsibility of the state of Texas or the government to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they were guilty. And so I decided to do criminal defense because, I felt like everybody, well, first of all, the Constitution tells us that everybody is entitled to representation. And I felt that, I grew up in a bad area. I grew up in the bad part of town. Some of the people I represented were my friends, my neighbors, they made mistakes. And so they needed representation to help them, get to either remedy their mistakes, rehabilitate their mistakes. And so, it really takes a person who is humble and a person who can understand, and who wants to fight for someone and their rights to kind of do criminal defense. And you would see me, I would be the only female sometimes around, the young men and women in the county who were wearing the jumpsuit, but I would be sitting right there because in my eyes, everybody's equal and everybody, deserves representation. However, there's also those types of lawyers who are civil lawyers. They do civil litigation. In other words, for example, when someone gets into a car accident and you get hurt, you can go and find a lawyer to represent you so that you can get compensated for those injuries if it was a fault of someone else. And those lawyers, have to know a different type of law, have to know the civil side, civil statutes, and also need to go into court and, they can go to trials and try to obtain, the remedies, try to obtain how much you are owed for being injured from that individual that was at fault. So that's kind of two examples of what type of law, one can practice, but there's so many, Jasmine. I mean, you have also public interest lawyers who do, represent those that can't afford representation, like rural legal aid. You have corporate lawyers who represent big corporations and make a lot of money, yes, but also work a lot. And your clients aren't someone you really see. They're it's a corporation. So, you deal with so many different people. There's lawyers who represent doctors, when doctors get sued, that's called medical malpractice. It's called health law too. There's just so many different areas of law that one can practice. And then there's also people who go to law school, get their degree, and don't actually practice law. They're lobbyists. They like government. So they go into the legislators in Austin, because that's our capital. That's where the session happens, or in Washington, D.C., and they lobby for different laws to be passed. They represent companies that want you to lobby for their certain laws that will benefit their company. So again, being a lawyer and getting your legal degree you can do so much. You can even be an agent and represent somebody that's famous, a famous athlete or a famous movie star.
So as in your field, the skills that you would think are more important, do you think they would need to be able to communicate well with their clients? Maybe time management, being aware of everything when it comes to appointments, interpersonal skills, things like that?
I know I kind of went on a tangent. I'm sorry. I'm going back to answering your question. There's just so many skills. First of all, communication. Okay. There's so many skills you can have depending on the type of law you want to practice. For example, in my case, I had to have a lot of communication skills. I had to not be shy to speak in front of a judge. I had to be very, articulate when I tried cases in front of a jury. I had to also be very humble and very, attentive when it came to talking to my clients and hearing their side of what happened. You have to manage your time as far as schedules and your clients and your appointments and hearings and depositions and, pretrial hearings and meeting with your clients and meeting with prospective clients. So time management is huge. But then again, there's also lawyers like patent lawyers who all they do is present documentation, or transaction lawyers where they don't have to meet with anybody. They're just doing transaction work with banks. So that's where your skills of organization, schedules, deadlines, all that plays a huge role in practicing law. So those are skills that you need to have, because I've heard kids that say, well, I'm real shy. I can't be a lawyer, because they see what they see on TV. Someone that's going in front of a judge and jury and fighting and arguing, and people kind of say, well, I can't be a lawyer. Yeah, you can, because that's not the only type of law you can practice. There's tax law. You can be a tax lawyer and just go present your case to a judge with you and your client and nobody else there. So or just, helping with tax issues. So there's a lot of different areas where you don't necessarily have to have the greatest communication skills. You just have to be able to communicate with your clients and be knowledgeable about what you're advising your clients about.
And that's great for you to explain that, because I would have thought that you have to be aggressive and you have to be upfront. But like you stated, depending on the type of law that you're practicing, it all depends. And then also, it's not going to be a cookie cutter item where everything's the same. So in a typical workday for you, ma'am, what does it look like?
So as a lawyer, as a judge, or as both?
Let's say as a judge for right now.
Okay, so as a judge, my typical day before COVID was I would get to my court. So in juvenile law, when a child gets detained by statute, by law, you have to, I being the judge, am required to have a detention hearing within 24 hours of them being detained. So usually that happens Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays in my court. So Monday, I have to be there around 8:00, review my files, review the information about each child that's going to come before me that day, and then prepare, to hear the arguments of both lawyers, the state of Texas and the defense lawyer that's defending the child, and decide whether I'm going to release them or I'm going to keep them there for an additional 10 days. So I can get more information, because I might feel that there's certain criteria I have to follow. So I might feel like maybe the supervision at home is not good. If I allow them to leave, they can hurt themselves or hurt someone else. So those are things I look at. Drug tests, how did they come in testing positive? So I do that Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, starting at 9:00, my docket. So I go into the office at 8, at 9:00, I review my files, 9:00, I get on the bench, and then I finish around 11, close to lunch. So then we go to lunch. Then I come back and I have my afternoon docket. And the afternoon docket are for those kids who are pending. The state of Texas has formally charged them with the charge that they may have been detained for. And so now it's their opportunity to either fight that charge or enter a plea of true. And if they fight it, they have a right to a jury trial. So we may have some trials sometimes where they have to pick a jury, and the jury needs to decide whether that individual is, the allegations against them are true or not true, which in the adult court, it's whether they're guilty or not guilty. And then once that decision is made, I then have to make a decision as to what the outcome of their case is going to be. In other words, what what consequences I'm going to be ordering them, which can be probation. I can send them to a facility for 9 to 12 months where they get treatment, for either drugs or mental health concerns that they may have been dealing with or not dealing with. And now it's a factor as to why they're getting in trouble. Or I can send them to TJJD, which is a juvenile, it's an institution like adult prison, but for juveniles. And so that's my day. So I finish around 5 o'clock, before 5 o'clock, and then I come home and I have 3 little girls. And so I then switch hats and become a mother and a wife and handle homework and everything else. So that's kind of my life right now as far as before COVID. And so the only difference now with COVID is all my stuff is done in my home because, our courts are not accessible to the public.
So I know that you stated that you have children. So how do you balance your work and your personal life? Is it easy or is it hard? Does this job actually allow you to have a personal life?
Yes. Well, yes, this job as a judge does allow me to have a personal life because I can make my schedules. I can, if something should happen and I need to change dates for court hearings, I can do that. It's up to me to make the schedule. I don't like to do that because I don't like to keep people waiting or change things the last minute, but I have that flexibility if I want to. How I balance, I have a lot of people that help me. My husband, we're very about schedule and structure. Each of my daughters have their schedule on their phones. They know what activities they have. But, it's just also just showing them the importance of school and making sure they finish their homework and treat people right and respectful. So it kind of makes it a little easier because we've come to teach them that, and the help of my husband. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my husband who, supports me and thinks that women can do anything. And of course the help of others that, whether it's a babysitter who can take my child to their activity or a teacher who says, hey, I want to, she needs this. So again, it takes a village. So it's doable. Is it hard? Yes. Is it hard for single parents? Yes, of course. But you know what? At the end of the day, sacrifice makes you appreciate what you have, and anybody can accomplish what they want, as long as they put in the hard work and they're dedicated to it.
But you said that you have somehow between your personal life. What is your team at work? Who are the individuals that you work with? Do you work with secretaries, bailiffs?
So so all this I talk about, what I do on a daily basis, it wouldn't happen just because of me. I don't, I come in and I handle the cases, but in the background, I have an amazing team that consists of, let me break it down. The first one is my bailiff. And I'm not doing it by any order, I'm just kind of going down the list. So my bailiff is the individual who makes sure that I am protected at all times. There has been situations in the state of Texas and recently with a federal judge where they have come to their homes and I think recently a federal judge in, I want to say New York, I forgot where specifically, but somebody came and killed her son. They were trying to kill her and they killed her son. And there's been a judge in Texas who actually somebody went and shot at her home and shot her. She's alive and she's recovered. But so, we make decisions that people don't always like. And so our safety is a priority. And my bailiff's first role is to actually protect me and make sure he knows where I am at all times, 8 to 5. He's with me pretty much during the day. He makes sure that there's order in the court. He makes sure that, no one is disrespectful, that no one is, no one's breaking any of the rules of my courtroom. He also translates. So I do, our area is predominantly Spanish speaking. So he does translate for parents who don't understand the English language. And he does help in preparing for the hearings and getting everybody, in line and getting everything organized. So when I walk in, we're calling the cases and everything's flowing very well. The other person that is also extremely detrimental to me is my court coordinator. She is an individual who coordinates, who tells everybody where they need to be, what they need to do. She gives the duties out. She reminds me of things I need to do. She does a budget. She makes sure that we're, within budget for things that we need for the court to run well. She also, does research for me on different topics of juvenile. And my court coordinator was actually a former juvenile probation officer. So she's very knowledgeable about how the probation department works and how the juvenile system works. And so she helps me, like if I don't know something or I need to find something, she helps me, with her knowledge and her experience. Then I have an assistant court coordinator, and she is the individual who is in court with me at all times. She makes sure that all the cases are ready. She talks to the lawyers. She makes sure the lawyers understand that their case is next, what their lawyer, she makes sure to notify the lawyers if they've been appointed on a case. She makes sure to, all the lawyers know that what day they have their court hearings. She sets the hearings. She also helps me with appointing lawyers to cases. We have a wheel and we go by order. So she makes sure that I'm following that order, because the state of Texas does check in our numbers as to how many cases we're appointing to certain lawyers, and they want us to be very equal and fair. And so she makes sure that I'm following that order and I'm keeping in compliance with that. She's also very technology savvy. She's very young, so she's all about social media and helps me with, a little bit of the PR and making sure, I stay visible to my voters and that people know what's going on in the 449th. And then, of course, we have our court reporter. Court reporting is extremely important because she takes the record, or she or he takes a record of everything that happens in my court. If there is no record, so what happens is if I make a decision and somebody doesn't like my decision, they can always appeal it to a higher court, which is a court that's higher than my court. And in order for them to decide whether they're going to change my decision, they don't hear arguments. They don't necessarily always hear arguments from lawyers. They actually just get the transcript that this court reporter prepares, and that's what they read to determine whether I use my discretion in the right way to make a decision. If they don't have that record, then it's like it never happened. And, it's extremely important job. The record is key as to what's going on. She records everything I say. And the neat thing about a court reporting is it's extremely hard, yes, but you only have to go to school for 2 years. And you get trained, you pass your test, you get certified, and they make about $100,000 a year as court reporters.
Which is I had heard that before, and I was like, wow. A lot of people believe that you need to have a bachelor's or a master's to be making a good amount of money, and they're not aware that sometimes, depending on different positions, you may just need an associate's degree.
Exactly. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. Court reporting is not easy because it's not about typing like, I can type fast. No, there's special features, and it's a special machine, it's a special program, and there's, they have to know how to type what I'm saying at the speed that I'm talking. And as you all can see, you probably see I talk really fast a lot of times. So she has to keep up with me and make sure that she has an accurate account of the record. And so it's a lot of responsibility. It is difficult to get trained on, but you go to school for 2 years and they train you, and then you end up making, 6 figures. And there's a need for court reporters right now. There's a huge need for court reporters in the state of Texas. So I think that's a great also, occupation to have. And you're involved in the legal system. I don't really want to be in court. I don't want to talk to anybody. As a court reporter, you don't talk to anyone because you're taking the record down. And so, but you get to hear different cases. You get to, experience the courtroom as well.
And that's super awesome. So thank you for sharing that. So that can be something that our students can actually look into.
Yes.
Go ahead, ma'am.
No, yes, it is. You're right.
So what do you find the most rewarding and the most challenging when it comes to your position?
The most rewarding is being, having a child come back in, later on and thanking me for making a decision or giving them a chance, and really making a decision that made their lives better, that helped them rehabilitate and change their life before they became adults. And, kids who have graduated from high school when others said they couldn't, or went to college when others said they didn't have a chance. Those things are the most rewarding for me. The thing that's the hardest is not always having the right answer, not always I make my decision and I have to be okay with it. And sometimes the decision doesn't change that child's life, and the child continues on in the adult system, ends up in prison. Sometimes, you do as much as you can, or make decisions based on, trying to what's in their best interest. And as an adult, you see them, they end up, committing some very serious charge, and you see them in the news. And, for me, it breaks my heart, because I hope, and of course, it's fairy tale, but, my wish is that every child can change, and every child gets that chance to change. But of course, that's not always possible. And so you have your sad stories, but you have your good stories too. So I think that's one of my biggest challenges. And just also, as far as the state of Texas is just hoping that more resources are available for us judges to use when it comes to juveniles, that more people are open to mental health, getting counseling, communicating, talking about how they feel. Juveniles now, or young kids, kind of just hold everything in, like knowing that there's people that care, and communication is key, for parents when they're raising children.
Besides education and experience, what other factors may impact the ability of someone wanting to go into that field? For example, would credit or having a background count?
Okay, kind of tell me that question you.
So what other factors besides education and work experience can affect going into that field? For example, if somebody wants to work in, let's say if they want to be a police officer, obviously they would not be able to have a criminal background. Would it be the same for your position?
Yes, when you go into law school, you actually have to state, what your back is. You have to give them a background if you've been convicted of any crimes as an adult. And then when you take your bar exam to get licensed to practice law in the state of Texas, you actually can't, they do a background check. They fingerprint you and everything. And so they do a complete background check on, making sure that you aren't convicted of any felony, that you've never gotten in trouble with the law. And if you did, they give you an opportunity to explain that to a board, and they decide whether they'll allow you to practice law or not. And then once you become a lawyer, we also have to continue to practice our ethics. If, we do something to our client that's not right, that's not ethical according to, the professional responsibility rules that we have to follow, then we're in jeopardy of losing our license, our law license. So as far as background, and kind of as you're growing and you're an adult, as you're becoming an adult, yes, don't get in trouble if you want to be a lawyer. Make sure that your record is clean, and make sure that if you did get in trouble, you've done everything possible to expunge your record, but also be truthful about it and let them know, so that they don't think that you're lying or hiding anything. So that's very important when it comes to being a lawyer.
And before I let you go, what is the secret behind being where you are right now? How did you get to that point? Is there anything in specific? Was it determination? Was it the support of your family?
Obviously it was hard work. It was dedication. I would tell everybody out there, I'm not the smartest. It's like, oh, that judge, she's real smart. Like, it probably real easy for her. No, it wasn't. Again, my parents had maybe a 9th grade education. I didn't have a mom and dad who sat down with me and did my homework. I didn't have a mom and dad who asked me about, oh, what are your grades? Or are you sure you're getting A's? And, apply to law school, make sure you apply to college, and don't forget your college applications. I didn't have that. My parents, what they taught us was to be a good person, and to treat everybody with respect, and to follow the laws, don't get in trouble, and my parents were, you want to go to college, great, go. You don't want to go to college, wonderful, but you need to get a job and you need to work. And working to maintain your family and your home is just as successful as getting your law degree and being a lawyer. As long as you're able to provide for your family, provide for yourself, and follow, be a good abiding citizen, then, those are things that I was taught. So again, hard work, dedication, and respect, treating others with respect, and knowing that you're not better than anyone else and no one is better than you. And so instilling that in me and following that, all the other stuff just came. Law school was hard, but I made it. College was hard, but I made it. But it did take hard work, and it did take listening and listening to others and helping others teach you, like teachers, professors, not acting like a know-it-all and I got it. Or I know nowadays teenagers, because I have a teenager, like to say, I know. No, we don't know. And there's people out there that are willing to teach us. And if we just listen, the answers are there for us. And then you put in the work, you put in dedication, and you follow the laws, and you try to be a good person, everything else will come, no matter what career you choose. And I will tell you, I have 2 older brothers. One of them decided not to go to college because for him, college was not for him. But he became a state trooper, and now he is a captain with DPS, and he runs his own unit. He runs his own, group of men in a different. He runs his own division, and he's done very, very well for himself. But again, he knew this is the route I had to take, and this is what it meant. And he learned about being a state trooper through these types of presentations.
Awesome. Judge Renee Rodriguez Benacourt, thank you again for taking the time to do this interview. The information that you shared was extremely valuable and will impact the lives of those viewing the video. And guys, if you're interested in learning more about this career or any other careers, feel free to actually visit Texas Reality Check, which will allow you to determine if that career will provide you the salary that you need in the future. Or to dig deeper into other careers, you can explore Texas Career Check, Own It, and Career Coach, which all the links can be found on our website right here, wfsolutions.org. Thank you again, Judge.
Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you, everyone.
All right, so next up, we're going to go ahead. Thank you so much. We're on the tail end. I apologize, we're running behind schedule a little bit. We're going to go ahead and get started with our next employer, which is the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department. The Hidalgo County Sheriff Office mission is to provide a sense of security for the people, protecting life and property, reducing the opportunity for crime and disorder, enforcing the law, and providing other police-related services as required by the community in a manner consistent with the values of a free society.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Hernandez, and I'm a Workforce Outreach Specialist with Workforce Solutions. Today, we have 2 very special guests from the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department who will be giving us some information on their profession. Sheriff Deputy Robledo and Sheriff Deputy Rodriguez, can you please introduce yourself, your job title, and where you currently work?
Hello, everyone. I am Sheriff Deputy Moises Robledo. I have been with Hidalgo County Sheriff's Office now for 14 years. I am currently assigned to the Crime Prevention Unit, where I am in charge of social media. I'm also a coordinator for the Crime Stoppers program, and I am assigned to the Honor Guard detail.
Hi, my name is Deputy Hugo Rodriguez. I am currently with the Crime Prevention Unit, and I'll also assist with the Crime Stoppers. And basically, we're in charge of every event that the Sheriff's Office puts out. So we have major projects always coming up.
How did you become interested in this occupation or field?
Well, actually, I started off in business management right out of college. So I started in this profession a little late. I think I was 38 years old when I started with this profession. So what you're doing right now, Jasmine, I think is a very great benefit I never had anybody explain to me, or ask me what I wanted to do in the future. So when I graduated high school, I had no idea. It wasn't until later on in life that I realized I didn't like business management. And a friend approached me about signing up with the sheriff's office. I've been happy ever since.
What type of education, training, or background does your job require?
Actually, to be a sheriff's deputy, you need to go to an academy. And of course, you need to be 21 years of age to carry a gun in the state of Texas. So the academy requires for you to be 21 years old. And you do go through an extensive amount of training, especially through the sheriff's office. We did 10 months as a part-time academy, which we're still working and going through the academy. But it is a lot of work. There's an actual academy that you go through 6 months, which is a full-time academy. They're offering it now for the officers, the jailers or outside personnel that come into the academy. They can do it for 6 months, and it's a little bit better for them. But myself and Deputy Robledo, we went through the 9 to 10 month academy, which was part-time as well. And basically, of course, you need your high school diploma. You need to have a clean record to start off. That's basically that's the main ingredient, basically, to start off this career.
Is it required for somebody to have any type of degree, or as long as they have their high school diploma?
As long as you have, as of now, as long as you have your high school diploma and you have a clean record, you're good to go.
Awesome.
The degree does help, especially if you're wanting to move up in rank. Your degree will make that happen even quicker.
Awesome. So what type of skills, abilities, and personal attributes are essential to success in your job?
Well, that's a very good question. One of the things me and my partner like to explain to everybody is that sheriff deputies, all types of law enforcement officers, we wear different hats. So the more training you have, the better. It will be utilized in this job. We often have to be counselors in our job, especially because we deal with a lot of victims of crime, and we have to be able to counsel them during those times that we need when they're being affected by crime. We have to have medical knowledge, especially when we come up to these situations where people have been assaulted or where there's been an accident. We have to be able to provide medical attention at that time. We can't wait for EMS or fire department. We are educators. Me and my partner, especially in our crime prevention unit, we are constantly educating the community about the law. All right, because we don't want people to make a mistake and break the law. We want them to know what the law says, what their rights are under the law, and what they can do to protect themselves. So we wear many hats. The more experience that you bring into this profession, it will help you throughout your career.
And in regards to soft skills, do you believe that interpersonal skills are very important and communication skills?
Most definite. Like my partner was saying, for this job, you have to be a people person. You have to know exactly how to talk to people, because sometimes they're hurt, their emotions, everything, it plays a role. So you have to know how to talk to them, how to communicate with them, how to put yourself basically in their shoes, so you'll know exactly what's happening, or try at least to comfort them. So like my partner was saying, all these hats we wear, they're essential. We have to have these skills.
What does a typical workday look like for somebody in your position?
That's one of the reasons why I love my profession. There is no such thing as a typical workday in law enforcement. Every day, you're always going to deal with something new, some new kind of situation, something to make your day different and exciting. So that's why our training is extensive. We're always going through training, even after the academy. Lucky for us, the Sheriff's Office has a local training center on site where we can continue to improve all of our skills, communication and others, because we never know what we're going to be dealing with out there in the real world.
So in regards to that, in regards to business hours or the hours that you work, do you normally work 8-hour shifts, 10-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts? Is there an assigned shift, or it could be random?
Depending on what department and unit you're assigned to, there will be a shift that you're assigned to, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to be working more than that. Our unit, we have to be available 24 hours, 7 days a week to be able to deal with anything that comes up. And that's pretty much true for all law enforcement. Even when we're off the clock, we are never not law enforcement officers. In this profession, you have to, if you identify something going on, you have to address it. That is part of the Texas state law.
What are some of the decisions that you have to make daily, and how do you make those decisions?
Well, it depends on the situation you're in. Basically, every situation you have to make decisions on the spot, right? Sometimes we come up to, say, for instance, if it's some person that we have to deal with, sometimes we have to decide either to section him, which is take him for medical evaluation, right? We have to decide that on our own. Sometimes you have to decide, if the situation comes up and you have to arrest someone, right? If you have to arrest someone or not, right? It's up to the officer, but we do have to make decisions on the spot. That's every day. Almost every officer, every deputy has to deal with that. Sometimes we come up to situations that are calm and simple and we leave everything alone. Sometimes we have to get that person out of that house, so it depends on the situation.
Can you tell me about your work or a recent project that you're working on?
Like we explained, we're part of the crime prevention unit. We can be handed any task at any time by our sheriff, which we would have to address. Normally, we do deal with public events. We go out there and we do training. We do security support. Just recently, because of everything that's going on, because of all the calamities of 2020, we see firsthand how there's a lot of need. There's a lot of people out of work. There's a lot of need. And so the sheriff has put it upon us to be helping people in the community. So we recently had our annual back to school supply giveaway, where we were at 3 different locations in our county, and we gave up to 1,500 backpacks with school supplies. It seems like a lot, but in reality, we saw that it was just a drop in the bucket. We wish we could have done more. But hopefully by next year, with the planning, that we'll be able to do more than we did this year. We do have 2 big events that are coming up. One now that we're working on is our turkey meal giveaway. We are hoping to go to 3 locations again in the county and give out full turkey meals right before Thanksgiving, which would include a whole turkey with all the sides, all the fixings. And then later on in December, we're going to be doing our annual toy giveaway, where we're going to be doing the same. We're going to be hitting 3 different locations in the rural part of county, giving out toys to kids in the needy areas, the rural areas. Some people call them colonias. So that's what we got working on for the rest of the year.
So for the next question, if both of you can answer, for you, what is the most challenging part of your job and the most rewarding part of your job?
All right. The most challenging part of our job is basically if you look for something, right? You're looking for help me out here. You're looking for work. Basically, you're gonna find it, right? You're gonna find work. You're gonna get calls. You're gonna go out there. You're gonna make contact. Is that decision, like I said earlier, is that decisions of arresting people or not, right? Those are the things you got the challenging part, right? You got to see, especially when we work out in the county, there's a low, it's out in a rural county. So it sometimes people don't have the means. And if you arrest them, you're taking away basically their livelihoods, their everything they have. So you have to make those crucial decisions. You have to you have to do like you have to be that person. Either do the right thing or do the wrong thing. Which we do not do the wrong thing, of course. But
okay, well, along the same lines, I guess the challenging part for me is when you have youth, when you have children that are involved in a lot of the crimes that we have to work on. Because we see firsthand how the children are affected by crime, and we know that it's going to affect them for the rest of their life. They're going to be subject to it. So to me, that's the most challenging part of this job, is seeing how crime affects young people.
And what is the most rewarding part of your job?
Well, once you help those people, right? Sometimes you get the opportunity to help the youth, right? Like if they are having that problem, if you do end up taking them to juvenile, at least you'll get them help while they're there. You'll help their families as well. They'll understand, right? Also, if anything else, right? Like if someone gets assaulted, right? Sometimes these people do not want to say what happens to them, right? They're afraid because, say, the husband, right, was the primary breadwinner, and they don't have a job, right? The wife doesn't have a job or anything like that. We get them the help. We lead them the right direction through our crime victims division. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there that we can lead them to, right? Helping those people get out of that trouble, get out of that place where they're not right. That's part of the rewarding. And the kids as well. The kids, sometimes those kids didn't have anything, and when we get them the help, they'll get what they need to continue, right?
Is it the same for you?
So along the same lines, or in addition to that, actually, I would say that the big rewarding part is sharing what I have learned. I can honestly say that, especially at the sheriff's office, you gain a lot of wisdom and knowledge, and this wisdom and knowledge we get to share with our families, with our friends, with people that we know, and help their lives as well through that. And it's a big plus, especially when you're talking about learning about the law, learning how to protect yourself against crime, and learning how to stay safe, make good decisions every day. So I would say that sharing the wisdom and knowledge that I've gained through my work in law enforcement.
So how does success look for somebody in your position? How do you rate that, or how would you define that?
Me personally, I think it's different for everybody in law enforcement. I take reward every day in doing my job well, because every position here at the sheriff's office and at any agency that you belong to is part of the machine that makes safety possible for people in the county, whether you're working in an office or whether you're out there on the road, or or like us when we're work on educating and people in the community. Every part plays an important role in making sure that the safety is happens in our county.
So I know that I see both of you together, so I'm assuming that you normally work as part of a team. What is your role in that team, or what other people do you work with? Do you work with somebody that answers the phones and sends you the information? Do you work with your boss? Who's part of your team?
Okay, so yeah, every agency has different departments, and within those departments has different units who have to work as a team to get the job done for that agency. Communication is key. We all have to be on the same page, so we're constantly meeting to make sure that everybody knows their task and that everybody's capable to do the task, and whoever needs help with the task gets that help. But it's the roles that we play. It all depends on the task at hand. You have to be, especially in law enforcement, you have to be able to take on any role. sometimes, and a lot of times you have to be able to multitask, do more than one thing at the same time in order to make sure that everything's done efficiently, because time in this job, time matters. Time is a very important in making sure that, that the action that needs to take place takes place.
When it comes to your work and personal life, is there a balance, or does it lean more to does it lean more to work or your personal life? And then how do you balance that?
On this one, you have to balance it out good, right? You have to leave work at work, and then whatever's at home, you do not take your work home. That's one thing we have to do, because we cannot take all the stress, everything from work, and take it home. So, and plus, our families do suffer, right? Because sometimes, like my partner was saying, our hours, sometimes we have to work 7 days a week, right? And extensive hours, and we don't have time for our families. But luckily, our families understand, they comprehend, right? And, but when it's family time, right? And we try not to mix them. But we do have to balance that out. It is hard, but we do it. We have to.
I'm assuming it's more about quantity, not quantity, but quality instead of quantity, right? When you have that time with your family, that you actually provide them with that that you're focusing on them during that time. What would you recommend students to do in order to prepare for to work in your field?
Well, depending on where they're at in life, obviously education is key with any career that you take. So focus on your education, graduate high school, okay? Always physical fitness is very important, believe it or not. In law enforcement, you do have to be physically fit, especially when it comes to keeping a sharp mind, for making decisions. Everything that you study in high school, you're going to need in law enforcement. So, try your best to understand math, understand grammar. You do a lot of writing in law enforcement. We have to turn in reports with every incident that we make contact with. So writing is very important. It's a very good skill to have. And like I was saying earlier, the more you bring to this profession, the more it's going to help you out. So if you have an opportunity to study medicine, any type, if you have the opportunity to study another language, psychology is also a very good subject to look into. All of those things will help you in law enforcement.
What other factors besides education and experience may impact the ability of a student to actually work in that field? For example, do they have to have good credit? You had stated a clean background. Do they have to travel, or anything else that you can think about?
As part of our background checks, and when they're applying for our job, they do check everything. They do check of course, right? They even check their high school transcripts, see how, if they have to be high school graduates. The minimum is a GED at right now, but they do check their credit as well, right? They if they have past employers, if they have worked before as they were in high school, they'll call them as well, so they'll see what kind of person they are, and all that plays a big important part of their to see if we're going to hire them or not, right? If they're people person, right? Because maybe they had a past employer that they had run-ins all the time, right? They would get into it or something, so you don't want that, right? So it's stuff that they need.
What is the best career decision that you've ever made?
As far as me, I would say, because it was difficult leaving my past profession and going into law enforcement. But like I said earlier, I've been happy ever since. And in this career, you're always dealing with something new. You're always meeting new people. You're always learning. And so it makes for a very exciting career, a very exciting day. You're never bored. And, it's very rewarding. So I would say, law enforcement definitely has done that for me.
It's very rewarding. especially if you know you did something good for the day. If you reached out to someone that was in need and you helped them out, it's very rewarding. It's something personal that you feel that makes your day great, right? So that's the most part to me, the rewarding part, right? Helping out people and making a change.
Making a difference. At least if it's one person, I would assume that it makes a big deal for you.
You can change one person, that's a big plus for everybody. So
how do you organize your time?
As I stated earlier, multitasking is very important in law enforcement. So obviously, organizing your time it goes along with that. Your planning has to happen in advance. Okay, it can't be the day of. You always have to be planning ahead, and you always have to leave room for things that you don't plan for. Okay, in this profession, there's always going to be something that's going to happen that you weren't planning for, and so you have to be ready for that, as much as possible.
Is there anything that you read in order to stay up to date with the laws, or just so you can improve yourself for personal gain?
Well, that's the plus that the sheriff's office has. We have our academy, so they're always giving trainings to us, so that they keep us up with the legislative updates. They keep us up with all the new laws, everything coming in. They keep us up with it, and that's a great plus that we have, right? I don't know, not every agency has one, so I think in our part, we're blessed with that. Whether anything that comes up, anything new, they'll send it our way, or they'll send us to a training. So that's what we have. So.
Let me add to that. Law enforcement, we deal a lot with disasters, whether it's nature or disease or anything else. And so we have to be on top of what's happening out there, the news. All right. So, we have to watch the news. We have to read about the news, and social media is key in finding out what's going on. So we always have to be abreast of that so that we can prepare for it, because when it comes to those kind of situations, there usually is a lot of people in need. And so we have to be prepared for that ahead of time.
What do you think is the secret to getting to where you're at right now? If both of you can answer that, because maybe both of you have different answers, or each one of you.
Is there a secret? Okay, that's what you said, right? What is the secret?
Yeah, maybe the hard work.
Well, I'm saying, and my part is like, you have to love this job. You have to be a people person to begin with, right? And you have to love it, because no matter what happens, you have to make this job happen basically for you. You have to put in everything you got and make this your life basically. So it's in, you have to have it in you, right? The secret is you have to want to love it. You have to really want to help people. That's my main thing, right? So
yeah, I'm gonna agree with that, and right along those lines, I'm gonna say, because we see it in a lot of people, especially new recruits, new people coming up. So to add to that, you need to have a lot of patience, mostly patience within yourself, about yourself, because a lot of times people think, you should already know what to do, and that's not true, especially in law enforcement. A lot of times it's a learning experience, and so you have to be patient. Give patience to yourself and saying, hey, I will learn this sooner or later, or I will get better at this. I will improve and be the law enforcement officer that I want to be, if that's possible, because we're always wanting to improve and we're always wanting to do better. But the key to that is being patient and not giving up.
Thinking back on your very first job, do you think that it played a role developing any of the skills that you currently have and that you use for this position? And if both of you can give me an answer for that.
Well, my very first job was working in the fields when I was a little kid. So I can honestly say that has helped me in law enforcement. You do have to be mentally tough, and that's one of the things that I think doing that when I was a kid made me. It made me mentally tough. I was able to, overlook the hardships of that kind of work because I was able to think, you know what, I can do it. I be positive and just work through whatever issues I was having with that job.
And myself as well. I started off in the fields as well as a young kid, and it makes you tougher. Basically, like my partner's saying, it makes you endure all those hardships, all that hard work. That makes you that person, makes you cherish more, makes you understand better that that this job it's a profession, right? It's something you take. It's something you better educate yourself more. You better do better than work out there in the hot sun, right? And you still have a whole long way to go, and you haven't finished, right? And you don't want that. You want something that's gonna be a little bit easier. You got to educate yourself, right? Because that was my first job, and it was hard. And thank God it fed our family, right? But still, I saw that, and it was like I have to push on. I have to make myself better, and also.
Sheriff Deputy Robledo and Sheriff Deputy Rodriguez, thank you again for taking the time to actually complete this interview. I know you're super busy. As we can see, you took the time to do it during work in your car. So thank you very much for that. And guys, if you like more information in this specific career or any other career, feel free to check out Texas Reality Check, Texas Career Check, Own It, Career Coach, and those links can be found on our website, wfsolutions.org. Thank you again for watching.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much. That's the concludes for today's. We thank you so much for logging in today. Tomorrow we'll be starting at 9 o'clock, so that's a little different tomorrow than it is today. So we'll be starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow. We've got a couple of more healthcare and education employers that will be coming on. So we look forward to having you log in tomorrow. So again, just a reminder, we'll be starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow, not 8:30. And so thank you again. You'll have a great day. And if you have anything you need to contact us for, it will be under David at wfsolutions.org. Again, thank you so much. Have a great day.